Chapter 329. Moon Spirit, have you made contact with the ethereal sect? The divine nation's lord asked Moon Spirit, who was beside him, now that the spirit stones were ready. Don't worry, father. I've already made contact with Master Nanyan. Moon Spirit nodded. She was an in-name disciple of the ethereal sect, so she naturally had a way to contact them. That's good. The divine nation's lord nodded in satisfaction. He looked at the transmission pillar erected in the divine nation's grand square and laughed. Haha, then we only need to wait for the ancestral master to arrive in person. Hearing this, the officials in the divine nation's grand square and the people of Divine Nation City were somewhat expectant. Now that the absolute ruler of Divine Spirit Realm, the famous ancestral master of the Tiamat cult, how would he arrive in person? Everyone was waiting. Dozens of minutes later, a crack seemed to appear in the sky. It was a ripple in the void. The ancestral master is coming. Seeing this, the divine nation's lord immediately sat up straight, his expression somewhat solemn. The officials in the square and the people in the city all became serious. They all widened their eyes and looked at the sky. Boom! In the sky, there was a rumble, like thunder. They even vaguely saw a little bit of lightning flashing. Everyone was excited. As expected of the ancestral master, his arrival was accompanied by sparks and lightning. His momentum was full of special effects. At this moment, before the crowd saw his figure, they heard his voice. Shabai Lion, why are you roaring? Isn't it just a little bit of wind and lightning? You're scared to this extent. You're a Lion King. Ayo, ayo, ayo. They seemed to hear the lion's quibbling voice. Still talking back? Isn't it just a little bit of wind and lightning? Woo-woo. Wind and lightning? Everyone in Divine Land City was stunned when they heard the voice that came from the sky. What was the ancestral master saying? Also at this moment, in the sky, the void rippled, and a huge creature leaped out. It's the Shabai Lion King. What a ferocious demon beast. Seeing the huge creature with golden fur, the people in Divine Nation City immediately recognized it. After all, the Sealing Flame Lion King had always been by Ning Tian's side, and its name had also spread out. Although he didn't know how strong the Sealing Flame Lion King was, it was still a demonic beast that followed the patriarch. It couldn't be that weak. Very soon, everyone in Divine Land City saw Ning Tian sitting on the back of the Fire-Sealing Lion King. Patriarch is still as handsome as ever. Everyone was extremely excited. Wait, suddenly, they were stunned, and their expressions became strange. The patriarch seemed to have something else in his hands. Ancestral Master, what is that in your hand? Seeing the item in Ning Tian's hand, the monarch of Scandinavia couldn't sit still. He quickly leaped into the air and asked Ning Tian. Oh, that. Ning Tian glanced at the thing in his hand and said casually, It's nothing. It's just an energy ball that I casually condensed from wind and thunder in the void. Gulp. Hearing that, everyone in Divine Prefecture City gulped with difficulty. Just a little? Was it really not 100 million points? Looking at the wind and thunder energy ball that was thousands of meters in size in Ning Tian's hand, everyone in Divine Land City questioned with their souls. If this thing fell in their Divine Land City, the entire Divine Land City would be annihilated in the wind and thunder. Monarch, is the transmission pillar ready? Ning Tian jumped off the back of the Fire-Sealing Lion King. It must be ready, but the monarch of Scandinavia glanced at the wind and thunder energy ball in Ning Tian's hand with fear and said helplessly, But Patriarch, can you put this thing away first? If you don't play with the ball properly, Divine Land City will cry. Well, okay. Ning Tian nodded casually. Then, under everyone's stunned gaze, he operated the way of wind and thunder and squeezed the wind and thunder energy ball that was thousands of meters in size into the size of a thumb. Then, he swallowed it into his body. Anyway, he still had the Thunder Calamity spiritual vein and the divine power in his body. This wind and thunder was not a problem at all. Hiss, he's a wolf. As expected of the patriarch, swallowing wind and thunder. Seeing this scene, everyone in Divine Land City gasped. If it were an ordinary person, not to mention swallowing wind and thunder that was thousands of meters in size, they would probably be electrocuted to death as soon as they touched it. They had to admit that the patriarch was awesome. Awesome. For some reason, some people in Divine Land City had already stood up. You've shocked everyone in Divine Land City. Spatial Immortal Artifact Reward. Void Ship. Void Ship. Using the Void Ship together with the transmission pillar can increase the speed and stability of the Void Ship. Also, the Void Ship itself can perform void displacement of millions of meters. Oh? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. He had already sensed the existence of the Void Ship in his storage ring. Void displacement of millions of meters. That sounded really good. After all, it was the same distance as a small transmission pillar. Most importantly, it didn't cost money. It didn't cost spiritual origin stones. Since you're ready, Moon Spirit, let's go. Ning Tian looked at Moon Spirit and said to her. Although the celestial demon totem on his chest didn't affect him much in the past few days, it was still like a ticking time bomb, full of instability. Okay. Moon Spirit nodded and looked at the King of the Divine Land with her beautiful eyes. Father, prepare to activate the Spirit Realm's transmission pillar. Hearing this, the King of the Divine Land nodded slightly. Looking at the officials in the Divine Land's Grand Square, he said in a deep voice, Dear officials, use the spiritual origin stones you've prepared. Yes, King. The officials all nodded. Then, they all took out the spiritual origin stones they had prepared from their storage rings. The transmission between the spirit realms required a very large amount of energy. This time, a total of 50,000 spiritual origin stones were prepared, and the King of the Divine Land personally controlled it, so it was enough. Soon, 50,000 spiritual origin stones were placed in front of the transmission pillar. The King of the Divine Land rose into the air. His expression was solemn. The moment he circulated his spiritual energy, the pupils of all the spiritual origin stones lit up. Then, they turned into streaks of energy and rushed toward the transmission pillar. In an instant, boom! When all the spiritual origin stones turned into energy and entered the transmission pillar, the bronze surface of the transmission pillar emitted a dazzling golden light. All the ancient characters and runes on the transmission pillar lit up. The transmission pillar began to operate. Everyone, step back a little. The King of the Divine Land said in a deep voice. Hearing this, on the square, the officials immediately ran far away. When everyone scattered, the King of the Divine Land activated his imperial aura. Carrying a huge amount of energy, he slammed his palm heavily on the transmission pillar. Boom! In an instant, the transmission pillar was completely activated. A huge void gate appeared. Chapter 330. Boom! The teleportation pillar's bronze surface shone with golden light as the ancient runes lit up. A void portal stood in front of the teleportation pillar. Phew! The Divine Nation Lord let out a long sigh of relief and looked at Ning Tian with a smile. Ancestral Master, the teleportation pillar has been activated. You can set off now. Ning Tian nodded slightly. Let's go, Ancestral Master. After saying that, Moon Spirit took a step forward and walked towards the void door. Wait. However, Ning Tian called out to her. Moon Spirit was stunned and looked at Ning Tian in confusion. However, Ning Tian did not say anything. He just took out the void ship from his storage ring and placed it in his hand. Ancestral Master, what is this? Seeing the palm-sized object in Ning Tian's hand that looked like a ship, Moon Spirit and the Divine Nation Lord could not help but look at him in confusion. This is good stuff. A mysterious smile appeared on the corners of Ning Tian's mouth, and then he walked over to the teleportation pillar under everyone's puzzled gazes. He gently tossed the spatial ship into the portal. Ancestral Master, this is? Seeing this scene, the group of people was even more confused. This thing is called the Void Ship. It can travel in the void and can change its size. At this moment, Ning Tian's voice rang out. Void Ship? Everyone was stunned. What was that thing? Immediately after, everyone saw that after the Ancestral Master casually chanted 2 lines of incantation, the void ship that was thrown into the void portal changed from the original palm-sized object to a behemoth that was hundreds of meters in size. Holy H asterisk T. What is this thing? It can change its size. I love it. Why do I feel that the thing in the ancestral master's hand is centuries ahead of us? I've never heard of the void ship before. Nonsense. How can a mortal like you come into contact with something that the ancestral master has come into contact with? Seeing the transformation of the void ship, the surrounding officials widened their eyes and began to discuss. You have shocked the surrounding officials. Reward: Aura Cultivation plus 1,000. Ning Tian didn't care as a small amount of spirit energy entered his spirit sea. He turned to look at the ceiling flame Lion King and Moon Spirit. Moon Spirit, Shabi, come over here. Let's board the ship and get ready to set off. Yes, Patriarch. Moon Spirit nodded and walked over gracefully. She glanced at the void ship and then at the gigantic ceiling flame Lion King behind her. She frowned slightly and asked, Patriarch, the Lion King is so huge. Can it board the void ship? Then lock Shabi in the demonic beast gourd. Ning Tian said casually. However, the ceiling flame Lion King couldn't take it anymore. Roar, roar, woo-woo. It protested as it flailed its arms and legs. How troublesome. After hearing the Lion King's words, Ning Tian held his forehead helplessly. Patriarch, what did the Lion King say? Seeing this, Moon Spirit couldn't help but feel curious. After all, the only person present who could understand the Lion King's words was the Patriarch. Him? Ning Tian glanced at the ceiling flame Lion King and said in annoyance, Shabi said that he must be the void ship. He wants to be the first lion to travel in the void on a void ship. In the future, he can go to the Lion Clan and brag. He can pick up more lionesses. Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. Moon Spirit, everyone, good. What a tasteful lion. The most important thing is that this Shabi lion also told me that his dream is to be the void lion. His grandparents will definitely be happy. At this time, Ning Tian's annoyed voice sounded again. Good ambition. Everyone said this in the midst of the silence. Pfft, the Lion King is really in a good mood. Patriarch, why don't you let him stay? Moon Spirit couldn't help but laugh. Her laughter was like 100 flowers blooming together. The group of ministers not far away were stunned. Okay then, let's leave it at that. Ning Tian spread out his hands. The ceiling flame Lion King insisted and Moon Spirit also pleaded for mercy. Ning Tian simply couldn't be bothered with it. Oh woo. Hearing this, the ceiling flame Lion King excitedly howled and raised his head at Moon Spirit, giving her a satisfied look. Woman, you pleaded for me today. When I become a peerless beast king, I won't treat you badly. Immediately, a light began to condense on its body. That huge body was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a furry little lion. Her appearance resembled that of a kitten. Ah, so cute. Seeing this, Moon Spirit's eyes widened, and a glint flashed across her beautiful eyes. Women couldn't resist furry creatures. Lion King, can I hug you? Princess Moon Spirit couldn't help but ask. Roar. The ceiling flame Lion King was stunned at first. Then, it had a very disdainful look. A mere human wants to hug you? Wait. Suddenly, when the ceiling flame Lion King saw Moon Spirit's surging waves, it swallowed its saliva. Actually, hugging your master lion is fine too. Roar, roar. It nodded fiercely. Then, with a howl, its target was Moon Spirit's soft embrace. Seeing the ceiling flame Lion King suddenly take the initiative, Moon Spirit couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. She didn't think too much about it, and just wanted to hug the cute ceiling flame Lion King. However, just as the ceiling flame Lion King leaped up, a foot suddenly kicked it, sending it flying. Following that, Ning Tian's snappy voice sounded. Don't you have feet? Crawl yourself. Roar. The ceiling flame Lion King roared in grievance and crawled up from the ground. Master doesn't understand love. I, the Master Lion, am clearly so tolerant. Ancestor? Doubt flashed across Moon Spirit's eyes. Don't hug it. You just have to remember that this is a perverted lion. Ning Tian said indifferently. Pervert? Lion? Moon Spirit was startled. Looking at the volleyball in front of her, she suddenly reacted. Her beautiful face immediately flushed red. So, it was like this. All right, all of you, follow me. Ning Tian said indifferently. He took the lead and stepped into the void door, entering the huge void ship. Seeing this, Moon Spirit and the Sealing Flame Lion King hurriedly followed. Monarch, let's go. After the two people and one beast steadied themselves in the void ship, Ning Tian's voice came from the void door. Yes, ancestor's note. Whoosh. Before the monarch of the kingdom of God could finish his words, the huge void ship in front of them exploded with a burst of void power and disappeared in the blink of an eye. So fast. Seeing this scene, the surrounding officials widened their eyes in shock. This speed was at least 10 times faster than using the transmission pillar. As expected of the ancestor, he even has such a heaven-defying weapon. The monarch of the kingdom of God shook his head. At this time, the void door also slowly closed. Chapter 331. In the Void. A ship that was 100 meters in size was moving forward in the boundless void. Its speed was like a flash of light. It was astonishingly fast. On the void ship, Moon Spirit was curiously looking at the interior of the void ship. Ancestral Master, I didn't expect this void ship to have all kinds of equipment. Moon Spirit's beautiful eyes were shining. Although she was the princess of a supreme kingdom and had seen all kinds of scenes, she had never seen such a magical void ship. After all, it's a tool-type immortal tool. It has to be impressive. Ning Tian smiled and sensed for a while before saying, there seems to be a spiritual energy hot spring bath on this void ship. Spiritual energy hot spring bath? Is that the pool formed by spiritual energy? Washing in it can increase one's spiritual energy cultivation? Hearing this, Moon Spirit's eyes widened. Spiritual energy hot spring. This was a very rare natural product in the Tianqian continent. She didn't expect the ancestral master's void ship to have such a rare item. Ning Tian smiled and nodded. If you want to go, then go. This spiritual energy hot spring didn't improve him much, so he wasn't too interested. The only thing he was interested in was bringing his two wives to take a bath together. Thank you, Ancestral Master. Moon Spirit smiled, and just as she was about to set off, she suddenly saw the sealed flame Lion King lying on the deck of the void ship with a look of despair. Ancestral Master, is the Lion King okay? Moon Spirit couldn't help but ask. It's fine. Ning Tian glanced at the sealing flame Lion King and said in annoyance, this guy is seasick. His mouth is full of power, but his body can't take it. Roar. On the side, hearing this, even if the sealing flame Lion King was listless, it still had to roar twice to refute. However, the entire void warship trembled again. Its expression changed, and it immediately climbed up from the deck. Leaning to the side, it spat out some colorful unknown objects. Hey, if the lion wants to spit it out, spit it out. Don't spit it in. Damn, you secretly ate the leak spiritual medicine. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian had a look of disdain. Poochie. Moon Spirit couldn't help but smile. The Ancestral Master really didn't seem to have any airs. At least, he didn't usually. The void ship continued to travel through the void. If they did not have a spatial ship, they would need 2 months at the very least if they used the most basic teleportation pillars. However, Ning Tian and the others did not need that long at all if they had a spatial ship. It would only take a week to reach the firmament territory. In the blink of an eye, several days had passed. During these few days, the group of people was quite comfortable. This was one of the benefits of the void ship. Others could only fly by themselves through the teleportation pillars, so there was basically no room for them to rest. However, they were different. With the void ship, not only could they rest, but they could also do whatever they wanted. On the deck of the ship, the sealing flame Lion King, on the other hand, had already gotten used to the dizziness. It stood at the top and howled a few times. Ning Tian understood what it was trying to say. It seemed to be saying, Master Lion, I'm going to be the king of thieves of the void. Phew. Ning Tian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and slowly opened his eyes. His strength was now stuck at the half-step Emperor God realm. The divine demon totem on his chest seemed to be preventing him from advancing further. Ancestral Master, how long will it take for us to reach the firmament territory? At this moment, a voice rang in his ears and a fragrance wafted over. Moon Spirit seemed to have just come out of the spiritual chi hot spring. Her whole body exuded a kind of fragrance, which looked very delicious. However, Ning Tian was not moved by this scene. His eyes were still clear as he looked at her with a smile and said, "Soon. I guess we'll arrive at the firmament territory in a few days." Only a few days? Moon Spirit was slightly surprised to hear this. It should have taken 2 months, but with the help of the Void Ship, the time was shortened by so much. Moon Spirit, how's your cultivation? At this moment, Ning Tian asked again. Ancestral Master, I'm not talented. With the help of the spiritual chi hot spring, I've only improved a little. I've only reached the peak of the Holy Emperor realm. Moon Spirit said helplessly. That's already very good. Ning Tian said softly. Moon Spirit shook her head. Her beautiful eyes filled with determination. She knew that this was not enough. She had to work hard to catch up with the Ancestral Master. Just as Moon Spirit was about to say something, the Sealing Flame Lion King's anxious roar suddenly came from the deck of the ship. Roar. The two of them frowned and hurriedly got up and walked toward the deck of the ship. What did the Sealing Flame Lion King discover? Shabi, what did you see? The two of them walked out of the deck. Ning Tian looked at the Sealing Flame Lion King and asked with a frown. Roar. The Sealing Flame Lion King roared twice. Divine lightning? Ning Tian frowned when she heard the Lion King's words. Then, she looked ahead of them. He saw purple lightning in front of him. In the void, it was like a raging dragon. This is the void divine lightning. Generally speaking, it rarely appears in the void passage of the teleportation pillar. Moon Spirit also looked over. When she saw the purple lightning, she frowned slightly. The void divine lightning was one of the few major disasters in the void. It's okay. Ning Tian shook his head and looked at the void divine lightning with a slight smile. It just so happened that his way of wind and thunder was not strong enough. If he used the wind and thunder to activate the 3 styles of divine punishment, the power would not be enough. Now, the powerful void divine lightning was delivered to his door. It's just the void divine lightning. Just take it. He smiled confidently and stepped onto the deck of the ship. He stepped into the void and rushed toward the void divine lightning that looked like a lightning dragon. Ancestral Master, be careful, Moon Spirit hurriedly said when she saw this. However, before she could finish, she saw Ning Tian step into the void. His figure was not affected at all. Instead, his speed became faster and faster. Phew, she heaved a sigh of relief. I almost forgot that the Ancestral Master is a great emperor. After all, the Ancestral Master looked about the same age as her. Who would have thought that the Ancestral Master would be a great emperor at the same age as her? In the void, when the Void God Lightnings saw that the puny human dared to charge at them, they all exploded with powerful lightning energy. They thought that this was to scare Ning Tian. However, they did not know that the stronger they were, the more excited Ning Tian was. Way of Void, activate. Ning Tian shouted in his heart. His body instantly moved like a ghost and appeared in front of the void divine lightning in a few flashes. Then, he directly used the way of wind and thunder. A powerful suction force exploded from his palm and pointed at the void divine lightning. Chapter 332. In the Void. The void divine thunderbolts that were thousands of meters in size exploded with a dazzling purple light. An aura that seemed to be able to annihilate the void was emitted from its body. Humph! A cold snort was heard. Ning Tian stepped into the void. The divine god's power condensed on his body and flashed with lightning. He was like a divine god descending to the mortal world. He was domineering and unparalleled. The enormous divine god's power actually suppressed the void divine thunderbolts. The void divine thunderbolts did not dare to resist at all. It was like a subject meeting a monarch, so powerful, as expected of the Ancestral Master. He can actually suppress one of the major disasters in the void. On the void ship, seeing this scene, Moon Spirit's red lips parted slightly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with deep respect. At this moment, her admiration for Ning Tian had reached its peak. With the support of the Wind and Thunder Doctrine and the Divine God's power, the Void Divine Thunderbolts could not be resisted at all. Ning Tian's eyes turned cold immediately. He suddenly opened his hand. The Divine God's power instantly turned into a huge palm and grabbed at the Void Divine Thunderbolts. With the support of the Divine God's power, Ning Tian easily kneaded the Void Divine Thunderbolts into a ball of lightning and swallowed them at will. Host has swallowed the Void Divine Thunderbolts. Current Void Divine Thunderbolts energy can be used at 100%. When Ning Tian swallowed the Void Divine Thunderbolts, the system's voice also sounded. And so, the powerful energy required for the 3 styles of divine punishment was now available. The Void Divine Thunderbolts in front of him shattered. Ning Tian turned around and returned to the Void ship. Ancestral Master. Seeing that Ning Tian had returned, Moon Spirit and the Flame-Sealing Lion King immediately went up to him. The former looked at him with deep admiration. At the same time, in his mind, the system's voice sounded again. Detected the power of faith. Currently, the power of faith has been activated again. Currently, the power of faith has been upgraded to 100,000 points. After detecting Moon Spirit's power of faith, the power of faith has been activated again. Ning Tian still remembered the power of faith of 10,000. How strong would the power of faith of 100,000 be once it was released? The void lightning has been cleared. Let's continue on our way. Ning Tian said casually. The tribulation lightning on his body slowly dissipated.
Yes.
Moon Spirit nodded slightly. Seeing that the lightning tribulation on Ning Tian's body was slowly dissipating, the Sealing Flame Lion King crawled over and roared. Roar, roar. Aren't you afraid of wind and thunder? Hearing the Lion King's roar, Ning Tian couldn't help but frown. Was the Lion King going to swallow the divine lightning like him? Was this lion stupid? Roar, however. The Sealing Flame Lion King, however, roared twice with confidence. All right. Ning Tian waved his hand, and a small ball of divine thunder energy appeared in his hand. Oh, whoa. Seeing the divine lightning energy ball, the Lion King's eyes widened. Then, it couldn't wait to swallow the divine lightning energy ball into its body. Before it could taste the power of the divine lightning, the fur on its body instantly exploded, and it became an explosive lion. Its body began to twitch. Ancestor, is the Lion King electrocuted? Seeing this scene, Princess Moon Spirit frowned and couldn't help but ask. It should be. Seeing the Sealing Flame Lion King's appearance, the corner of Ning Tian's mouth twitched and he helplessly held his forehead. This Shabai lion insisted on acting tough. Now, it was being punished by the heavens. Shabai, come here. I'll help you get rid of the divine lightning, Ning Tian said to the Sealing Flame Lion King. However, the Sealing Flame Lion King shook its head stubbornly. Then, with a roar, the Lion King's aura emerged from its body and vaguely swallowed the divine lightning. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. He raised his eyebrows and whispered, Shabai swallowed the divine lightning and mastered the Tao of divine lightning? Hearing this, Moon Spirit was stunned. Then, she fell into a speechless silence. The Tao of divine lightning was a Tao attainment that many human geniuses wanted to master but failed to do so. And now, the ancestor's beast was trying to master it? This? Ancestor, can the Lion King really succeed? Moon Spirit swallowed her saliva and couldn't help but ask. I'm 90% sure. Ning Tian said lightly. 90%. Moon Spirit's eyes widened. Then, both of their gazes landed on the Sealing Flame Lion King. Roar! Roar! The divine lightning continued to strike the Sealing Flame Lion King's body, and it roared continuously. One could feel the pain it was enduring from its roar. Seeing this scene, Moon Spirit couldn't bear to see it. However, Ning Tian's expression didn't change. His calm gaze fell on the Sealing Flame Lion King from beginning to end. If he wanted to become stronger, this pain was nothing. A few hours later, when the wind and lightning on the ceiling flame Lion King's body dissipated, its aura seemed to have stabilized. Roar. Then, it roared excitedly. A lot of powerful divine lightning aura flowed out from its body. Seeing this scene, Moon Spirit couldn't help but sweat. She didn't expect the ceiling flame Lion King to really master the power of divine lightning. But this was only a demonic beast. If this were to be known by some human geniuses, they would probably have the heart to die. Not bad. Ning Tian nodded in satisfaction. Roar. The ceiling flame Lion King's big mouth opened as if it was laughing. At this time, Ning Tian suddenly had an idea. He looked at the ceiling flame Lion King and suddenly said, Shabi, do you want to learn the sword Dao? Shabi, Moon Spirit. Hearing this, one man and one beast fell into silence. After a long while, Roar? The Lion King was puzzled. Another few days passed. When Moon Spirit saw a lion that had turned into a few meters tall, standing up halfway and waving an ordinary spirit's sword in its claws, she, who should have been shocked, was very calm. These few days, she witnessed it with her own eyes. A beast picked up a sword and stepped into the sword Dao. It clenched its fists and stepped into the fist Dao. It spread its claws and stepped into the palm Dao. Especially when she saw it touch the door almost immediately, Moon Spirit was even more doubtful of life. This was something that many people pursued their whole lives, but it was so easily stepped into by a beast. But when she thought that this beast belonged to the ancestral master, she felt a lot more relieved. Everyone who could follow the ancestral master had cheats. Moon Spirit. At this time, Ning Tian finished his cultivation and walked over from the deck. Ancestral master. Moon Spirit bowed slightly. Ning Tian looked at Moon Spirit and said slowly, In a few hours, we will reach the firmament territory. Thinking about it carefully, I haven't understood the firmament territory well. Why don't you take this opportunity to introduce it to me? Chapter 333. Yes, Ancestral Master. Hearing Ning Tian's words, Moon Spirit nodded slightly. Then, she looked at Ning Tian and said seriously, Ancestral Master, the firmament territory is so vast that the celestial spirit domain can't compare to it. Therefore, the firmament territory is not divided into the central continent, the west continent, and so on. Oh, how is the firmament territory divided? Ning Tian frowned and asked. Ancestral Master, you should know the three major clans in the firmament territory. Ning Tian nodded slightly. The Human Clan, Demon Clan, and Demon Clan all had a stake in the firmament territory. Unlike the celestial spirit domain, there was only the Human Clan. The firmament territory is divided into these three clans. Moon Spirit smiled and explained, the demon race is in the north, and that area is called the Eternal Demon Domain. The demon race is in the west, and that area is called the Endless Demon Abyss. The human race is in the east, and that area is called the Primal Chaos Imperial Domain. Ning Tian frowned slightly. Eternal Demon Realm, Endless Demon Abyss, and Chaos Emperor Domain? Suddenly, he thought of something. What about the south? He looked at Moon Spirit and asked. The south of the firmament territory is an unknown sea, Moon Spirit said after thinking for a while. Unknown sea? Yes. Moon Spirit nodded and said, We're going to the Misty Immortal Mountain in the Chaos Emperor Domain. Although the Misty Immortal sect is not on the list of forces in the Chaos Emperor Domain, it still has one or two elementary tribulation great emperors. The list of forces in the Chaos Emperor Domain? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Yes. In the Primal Chaos Imperial Domain, the top three forces are the Everlasting Divine Dynasty, the Heaven's Secret Pavilion, and, halfway through her sentence, Moon Spirit's expression became somewhat strange. She glanced at Ning Tian before continuing, and the Void God Heavenly Palace. Oh? I didn't expect the Void God Heavenly Palace to be in the top three. Ning Tian's lips curled into a cold smile. However, they probably won't be able to make it to the top now. After all, they've lost more than half of their experts. Those forces are eyeing the top three positions covetously, Moon Spirit said with a gloating smile. The The Void God Heavenly Palace probably didn't expect that the Firmament Territory, one of the top 3 forces in the Chaos Imperial Realm, would suffer such heavy losses in the small Celestial Spirit Realm. And all of this was because of the young man before him. Then let's speed up. I can't wait to enter the Firmament Territory. Ning Tian smiled confidently.
Yes.
Moon Spirit nodded. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she looked at Ning Tian. She was already looking forward to it. Would the Firmament Territory be turned upside down because of the young man in front of him? In the void, the huge void ship advanced at full speed. The Firmament Territory, Chaos Region, Ethereal City. Above the plaza, there was a towering transmission pillar. The transmission pillar flickered with golden light, and all the ancient symbols were lit up. Seeing this scene, in Ethereal City, many cultivators passing by were attracted by this scene. This is the transmission power between spirit realms. Which spirit realm did it come from? Seeing the transmission pillar's reaction, many cultivators looked over and couldn't help but be surprised. They were all guessing. Which spirit realm did this powerful figure come from? After all, to activate the transmission pillar between spirit realms, not only did it require a large amount of spiritual origin stones, but it also required a great emperor to activate it. All of this showed that this person was definitely not ordinary. Everyone was looking forward to it. At this moment, a sloppy old man rushed out of the crowd. He looked crazy as he rushed to the transmission pillar and shouted, "The Destroyer of Worlds is here! The Destroyer of Worlds is here! The Firmament Territory is going to be in chaos." The Destroyer of Worlds? The Firmament Territory is going to be in chaos? Hearing this, the surrounding cultivators were stunned. They couldn't help but have strange expressions on their faces. "Go away. It's you again, you crazy old man. Hurry up and get out of here. You're always yelling. If you don't get out of here, I'll kill you." At this moment, several young men in white robes descended from the sky. Seeing this crazy old man, these young men in white frowned and immediately chased him away. It's the Ethereal Sect's law enforcement team in Ethereal City. I want to join the Ethereal Sect. It's said that the female disciples in the Ethereal Sect are all fair-skinned, beautiful, and long-legged. Yeah. Who wouldn't want to join such a sect? Seeing these young men in white, the surrounding cultivators discussed animatedly. "If you don't believe me, just wait and see." The crazy old man shook his head and sighed. Soon, he disappeared from everyone's sight. What a crazy old man. In Ethereal City, everyone shook their heads helplessly. Boom. At this moment, golden light flashed on the transmission pillar. All the ancient characters and runes were lit up. A void portal appeared. It's coming out. At the sight of this, everyone in the Ethereal City looked over one after another. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. Something is coming out of the void portal. Everyone stared at the void portal without blinking. Boom, boom, boom. The space trembled violently. The spirit energy in the entire Ethereal City went berserk. Some of the more cautious people had already retreated a little. This was very strange. Boom. At this moment, everyone saw a huge object rushing out of the void portal. It was extremely fast. In an instant, everyone's expression changed drastically. Damn! What is that? What are you waiting for? Run! It's too late. It's over. Boom! The void ship rushed out of the void portal at an astonishing speed. The surrounding cultivators did not even have time to react before they were sent flying. The entire ship slid a few hundred meters in Ethereal City before it stabilized. The entire Ethereal City was in a mess. Many buildings had collapsed. What's going on? Some of the cultivators who were sent flying got up from the ground and scratched their heads in confusion. Enemy attack? The Ethereal Sect's law enforcement team also got up from the ground and walked towards the void ship that was parked in the ruins of the buildings with a dark face. Soon, a voice came from the void ship. "Ancestral Master, your void ship doesn't seem to have brakes?" "It seems to have. Forget it. At most, I'll just destroy some buildings. I'm familiar with this." Upon hearing this, the faces of many people in Ethereal City darkened as they gritted their teeth in anger. On the void ship, Moon Spirit could not help but laugh bitterly when she heard this. The ancestral master had finally completed his achievement and moved from the heavenly spirit region to the firmament territory. Who are you? How dare you destroy Ethereal City in broad daylight? You're looking down on our ethereal sect. At this moment, several young men in white flew over from the sky and shouted at the void ship. Chapter 334. Who are you guys? A loud roar tore through the air. On the void ship, the two of them looked up and saw a few white-robed youths looking at them solemnly. They're from Ethereal Sect. Moon Spirit recognized them at a glance. Who are you guys? What's this huge thing? When they saw Ning Tian and Moon Spirit, the Ethereal Sect disciples were stunned as shock flashed across their eyes, because these two people were simply too outstanding, especially that youth. They had never seen such a handsome man before. Hearing the words of the few Ethereal Sect's disciples, Yu Ling did not say anything. She directly retrieved a white token from her storage ring and slowly raised it for the few Ethereal Sect's disciples to see. This is... The disciples were stunned for a moment before looking over. Yin Feng token. The few of them cried out in alarm. What Moon Spirit was holding was the Ethereal Sect's Yin Feng token. May I know who you are, senior sister? Instantly, the Ethereal Sect disciples became cautious. To be able to possess such a symbolic token, one's status in Ethereal Sect was definitely not low. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Moon Spirit glanced at them indifferently, and a powerful aura suddenly emanated from her. Yes. Why yes, senior sister. The few Ethereal Sect disciples were immediately taken aback. Humph. Moon Spirit snorted coldly and kept the token indifferently. Ancestral Master, let's go. Moon Spirit looked at Ning Tian and the coldness on her face disappeared instantly. She smiled brightly, stunning everyone instantly. Okay. Ning Tian nodded indifferently and started the void ship again, disappearing in the blink of an eye. What did that senior sister call that youth just now? Ancestral Master? At this moment, the Ethereal Sect disciples who were in a daze finally reacted and their expressions changed. F*CK. We couldn't have offended the Ancestral Master of Ethereal Sect, right? I heard that many old monsters like to disguise themselves as young people. We're finished. We're finished. At this moment, they actually treated Ning Tian as the Ancestral Master of Ethereal Sect, just as everyone was in shock. In an inconspicuous corner of Ethereal City, the crazy old man in tattered clothes revealed a smile. His bright eyes shone with a light that didn't belong to his age. The body of a god and a devil. It can be said to be the end of the world. Wonderful, wonderful. It can be written into a story. Since he's here, I'll continue to travel the world. Misty Sect, firmament territory, I've warned them. After saying that, his body gradually recovered as he stepped into the void. On the void ship, after leaving the Misty City, Ning Tian set the coordinates to the Misty Immortal Mountain. Moon Spirit, I didn't expect you to have such a cold side. Ning Tian glanced at Moon Spirit and asked, I learned this from the Patriarch. Moon Spirit had a smug look on her face. Ning Tian stared blankly and said quietly, I'm a good person, good man. Hearing this, Moon Spirit and the fire-sealing lion Wang Shi fell silent. Did the Patriarch not blush when he said this? Very soon. In just a few minutes. As the void ship moved forward at full speed, the misty immortal mountain appeared before their eyes. Surrounded by mountains and immortal chi, it was like a paradise on earth. Ancestral Master, we have arrived. On the void ship, Yu Ling looked at the beautiful scenery of the misty immortal mountain. Her beautiful eyes could not help but be filled with nostalgia. Is this the misty immortal mountain? Ning Tian stood on the deck of the ship and slowed it down. In the entire misty immortal mountain, many disciples of the Misty Sect were flying on their swords. There were also many disciples who were walking in the forest. They stopped and looked at the gigantic figure in the sky. All of the Misty Sect's disciples in the Misty Immortal Mountain could not help but have strange expressions on their faces. That's a flying ship? The commotion quickly attracted the attention of the Misty Sect. Whoosh whoosh. Several air-piercing sounds could be heard. Hundreds of Ethereal Sect disciples flew over. Their eyes were filled with vigilance, as though they were facing a great enemy. They surrounded the void ship. Boom! In the depths of misty immortal mountain, a god emperor's aura descended. Who dares to barge into misty immortal mountain? Following that, a voice sounded. A white-haired old man appeared before all of the Misty sect's disciples. It's Elder Tianfeng. Seeing the white-haired old man, the group of Misty sect's disciples heaved a sigh of relief. With a god emperor realm elder present, that strange ship should not dare to do anything, right? Everyone's cautious gazes were fixed on the enormous void ship in the sky. Just as they were feeling extremely nervous, a pleasant voice like a silver bell sounded from the void ship. Grandpa Tianfeng, it's me. Amen? Why does this voice sound so familiar? Elder Tianfeng frowned slightly. After muttering to himself for a moment, he seemed to have thought of something. This is little girl Yuling? Is it little girl Yuling? That's right, Grandpa Tianfeng. On the void ship, Yuling stood on the deck and waved at Elder Tianfeng. Elder Tianfeng and her master Nan Yin were the closest elders to her in the Misty sect. Although she had not stayed for long, she had received a lot of care from them. It's really little girl Yuling, Elder Tianfeng heaved a sigh of relief. After gesturing to the group of Misty sect's disciples, he moved his body slightly and flew towards the void ship. The group of Misty sect's disciples were puzzled. Was there someone they knew on the enormous ship? When he saw such a huge warship, Elder Tianfeng could not help but feel a little astonished. This was the first time he had seen such a huge warship that could float in the air. Very quickly, Elder Tianfeng saw a man and a woman on the void ship. What's that? He frowned slightly and rubbed his eyes. He saw a lion that was a few meters in size. It was practicing swordsmanship there. Little girl Yuling. What's that? Elder Tianfeng was a little confused. Oh, Grandpa Tianfeng. That's the Lion King practicing swordsmanship. Yuling was already used to it. Elder Tianfeng was silent for a moment. He took a deep breath and started to doubt his life. Very quickly, he changed the topic. Looking at Ning Tian, who was at the side, a hint of admiration flashed in his eyes. He looked at Yuling and teased her with a smile. Little girl Yuling, is this the little boyfriend you found? No matter if it's his looks or his temperament, they are all top-notch. Little girl, you have good taste. Grandpa Tianfeng, what nonsense are you talking about? Yuling's pretty face quickly blushed. She glanced at Ning Tian in a somewhat flustered manner. After which, she turned to Tianfeng and said, This is Ancestor. He is not my little boyfriend. Elder Tianfeng's face had a trace of an I understand smile. Old man, you better not say this in front of my two wives. Otherwise, you might die a terrible death. At this moment, Ning Tian spoke slowly and looked at Elder Tianfeng with a serious expression. Book Friends Group 8979969662. Chapter 335. Elder Tianfeng was stunned when he heard Ning Tian's words and saw his serious expression. Two wives? I'll die a horrible death? At this moment, Moon's spirit also thought of the two women behind the founder. Her body trembled as she hurriedly said to Elder Tianfeng, all right, Grandpa Tianfeng, you don't have to say any more. The founder has a family. His two wives are as beautiful as fairies. At this point, she seemed to feel that it was not enough, so she added another sentence. Moreover, they're not to be trifled with. Elder Tianfeng chuckled and said jokingly, Don't tell me that this young friend's wives can destroy my ethereal sect? Hearing this, Ning Tian and Yuling were both stunned. They looked at each other. They exchanged glances and looked at Elder Tianfeng. Both of them looked very serious. How did you know? Elder Tianfeng was stunned for a moment, and his expression was a little strange. He then shook his head and sighed. Young people nowadays love to joke around. I'm old and can't keep up with the times. After speaking, he looked at Moon's spirit with a smile on his face. Moon's spirit, Elder Nan Yin has already informed me that you'll be coming. I didn't expect you to bring a young friend. Nan Yin has already been informed? Moon's spirit's beautiful eyes flashed with joy. She looked at Elder Tianfeng and asked, Grandpa Tianfeng, where's Master Nan Yin? We have some important guests today. The sect leader and the other elders are receiving them, Elder Tianfeng said slowly. Important guests? Moon Spirit raised her eyebrows slightly. Elder Tianfeng only smiled and nodded, but he did not explain. All right, Moon Spirit, follow me, Elder Tianfeng said. Elder Tianfeng said. However, before he could finish his sentence, he looked at the 100-meter-long void ship and frowned. However, the ethereal sect doesn't have a good place to park it. It's fine. Ning Tian waved his hand and snapped his fingers. The void ship under his feet immediately changed. Under everyone's gaze, the void ship that was originally 100 meters in size had shrunk to the size of a palm and landed on Ning Tian's palm. How magical! It can be big or small. It's really a divine object. At the sight of this, the group of ethereal sect disciples could not help but sigh. They were even more curious about Ning Tian's identity. All right then, last dwelling and this young friend, please follow me, Elder Tianfeng said. Then, he turned around and flew towards the depths of the misty immortal mountain. Seeing this, Ning Tian brought Moon Spirit and the flame-sealing Lion King and followed behind at a leisurely pace. After the group of people left, within the misty immortal mountain, a group of disciples of the Misty sect looked in the direction that the few of them had left in. Elder Tianfeng seems to be very familiar with that young lady. What's your name, Yiling? Moon Spirit. Suddenly, a disciple recalled something, and a trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. Isn't that Master Nan Yan's proudest disciple? I heard that she almost broke senior sister Tian Xiang's record. So, our ethereal sect has such a beautiful and talented senior sister. I like her so much. I want her. You have no chance. Senior sister Moon Spirit already has someone in her heart. I can't accept this. Hold it in. In the depths of the misty immortal mountain. When they arrived, Ning Tian and the rest finally saw the majestic buildings rising from the ground and soaring into the clouds. Many of the buildings in the misty immortal sect were hidden in the clouds, and it looked extremely mysterious. I suddenly heard that there is a mountain on the sea. The mountain is in the void, as expected of the misty immortal sect. When Ning Tian saw this scene, he could not help but sigh slightly. Although the entire misty immortal sect was not as big as the Tianma cult, it seemed like the style of hiding in the clouds was much better than the Tianma cult. Good poem, good poem. When he heard Ning Tian's words, Elder Tianfeng was stunned for a moment. Then, he stroked his beard and laughed out loud. At the side, Ning Tian only chuckled. Good poem? Good is right. Anyway, it did not come from him. This young friend is not bad. He is gentle and refined, and his strength is not bad. The more Elder Tianfeng looked at Ning Tian, the more satisfied he was. After all, he was a god emperor. During the flight just now, Ning Tian was able to follow him at a leisurely pace. This was enough to show that Ning Tian's strength was not bad. May I know where this young friend is from? Elder Tianfeng looked at Ning Tian with a smile. Founder is the same as me. He is from the Heavenly Spirit region, Moon Spirit said. Oh, Heavenly Spirit region. Although the Heavenly Spirit region is small, it seems like there are many geniuses. Elder Tianfeng smiled and stroked his beard slowly. When he looked at Ning Tian, a glint flashed across his old eyes. May I take this young friend as my disciple? When he said this, the atmosphere became silent. Moon Spirit, Ning Tian. The two of them were stunned. Roar? At the side, the ceiling flame Lion King roared twice. Is there something wrong with this old man's head? Founder of his sect? Are you worthy? Huh. What's wrong? What's with your reaction? Seeing the two of them fall silent, Elder Tianfeng frowned slightly. His teaching ability was top-notch. However, seeing Ning Tian's extraordinary talent, he was afraid that it would be a waste. Thank you for your kindness, Elder Tianfeng. Ning Tian waved his hand slightly and said casually, however, I don't need it. Yes, Grandpa Tianfeng. Moon Spirit quickly said from the side. Sigh. Elder Tianfeng sighed. Since this young friend isn't willing, I won't force you. He shook his head slightly and sighed inwardly. Then let's go down first. Elder Nan Yin said to arrange for the two of you to stay at Yin Peak first. Elder Tianfeng said, and led the two of them and the beast down. In the ethereal sect, there wasn't a single elder guarding a peak. There were disciples in each peak. This was similar to the entrance hall of the Tianma cult. Yin Peak. Elder Tianfeng slowly descended with a group of people. Yu Ling, take this young friend and this strange lion for a walk around Yin Peak. Elder Nanyan will naturally come find you when she's done with her business. Elder Tianfeng said to the group with a smile. Well, okay. Moon Spirit nodded. At this moment, a group of people walked over. Senior Sister Moon Spirit? A group of men and women approached. They were all disciples of Yin Peak. Senior Sister Moon Spirit, I didn't expect you to come back. Senior Sister, we missed you so much. A few junior sisters rushed over while chattering. It's you guys. Yu Ling quickly recognized him, and the corners of her mouth could not help but curl into a smile. The few of them quickly chatted. Ning Tian and Elder Tianfeng looked at them. After a while, the few Yin Peak disciples looked at Ning Tian and were stunned. The few junior sisters blushed and their legs trembled. Senior Sister, who is this young master? Chapter 336. The junior sisters stared at Ning Tian intently. Their delicate bodies trembled slightly, and their beautiful eyes rippled like spring water. They bit their red lips lightly. They had never seen such a handsome man before. He was so handsome that they were willing to go crazy for him. The male disciples of Yin Peak also changed their expression slightly. Some of them didn't dare to look at Ning Tian directly. They were extremely puzzled. Damn it! Why do I, a straight man, not dare to look at this guy? Could it be that I've been turned gay? How can this be? The first thing they thought of when they looked at Ning Tian was how handsome he was. However, they soon felt their mouths go dry. They were obviously intoxicated. The divine charm physique was attractive to both men and women. It was just that amazing. Hearing the junior sister's words, Moon Spirit was stunned for a moment. She glanced at Ning Tian and said softly, I usually address him as Ancestral Master. She didn't want to say Ning Tian's name out loud. What if this group of junior brothers and sisters called Ancestral Master by his name? Wouldn't that be offending their superiors? Ancestral Master? The group of junior brothers and sisters of Misty Peak were all stunned. Then, they looked at Ning Tian one by one. Could it be that someone really called him Ancestral Master? Even Elder Tianfeng was a little confused. He frowned slightly and said slowly, Usually, Ancestral Master is called by the senior elders in the sect, right? These are all people with high authority. Most of them are great emperors. Great emperors. Hearing this, the junior sisters of Yin Peak were stunned. They all looked at Ning Tian. This young man who looked as young as them. Was he really a great emperor? Otherwise, why would Senior Sister Moon Spirit call him Ancestral Master? Haha, he might be a great teacher with the surname Zhu. Elder Tianfeng chuckled as he explained, That's true. We can't rule out that possibility. The group of disciples also echoed in agreement. If this young man who was about the same age as them was a great emperor, they might as well kill themselves in Yin Peak. Yes, we have to believe in science. How can there be such a young great emperor? On the side, Ning Tian said indifferently as he looked at the crowd. So, are you done chatting? Patriarch, it's done. As if sensing the impatience in Ning Tian's voice, Yu Ling hurriedly nodded her head and said to the group of junior sisters, I'll take the Patriarch around Yin Peak first. We'll catch up when we have time. Yes, Senior Sister. The group of Yin Peak disciples nodded. Patriarch, let's go. Moon Spirit looked at Ning Tian and said with a smile, Yes. Ning Tian nodded slightly, and the two men and one beast leaped into the air again. I really envy Senior Sister Yu Ling for knowing such a handsome young master. Yes? The group of junior sisters below looked at the two people in the sky with envious expressions. Suddenly, in the sky, Ning Tian's group disappeared into thin air. They were stunned and quickly rubbed their eyes. Why did I see Senior Sister Yu Ling disappear? Everyone was stunned. At the side, Elder Tianfeng's eyes widened in shock. Damn, stepping into the void with a single step. Isn't that something only great emperors can do? At this moment, Elder Tianfeng was stunned. Great emperor? F***CK. He's really a great emperor. The group of junior sisters and junior brothers were so shocked that they stuttered. The group of people was petrified as they stood rooted to the ground. According to Elder Tianfeng and the group of disciples, it was very sudden. The patriarch said that he had to believe in science and that he wasn't a great emperor as he stepped into the void and disappeared in front of their eyes. Soon, Tianling brought Ning Tian around Yin Peak. Not bad. The ethereal sex scenery is not bad. After a while, Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile as he spoke slowly. Haha. Yu Ling smiled and winked at Ning Tian. Patriarch, the ethereal sect's overall strength might not be as good as the Tianma cult, but the scenery is still very beautiful. Moreover, the ethereal sect's sect leader is a great beauty. Oh. Ning Tian replied with an oh, but he was indifferent. She's really a great beauty. Seeing that Ning Tian didn't have any reaction, Yu Ling couldn't help but feel confused. So what? Ning Tian looked at Yu Ling and said seriously, Yu Ling, I'm a decent person. I don't care about beauties. After all, there aren't many decent patriarchs like me. Before he could finish his sentence, Yu Ling seemed to have thought of something and said with a look of realization, Oh, I understand. You're afraid of Sister Empress and Sister Saint. Ning Tian's words stopped abruptly. He coughed dryly. Then, he looked at Yu Ling very seriously. Nonsense, I'm super fierce, okay? I've never lost a fight with them. Really? Hearing this, Yu Ling didn't believe it. After all, they were two nine-tribulation great emperors. Of course it's true. They can only beg for mercy in front of me. They can't beat me at all. Ning Tian snorted. On the side, Yu Ling's eyes were full of stars, and her face was full of worship. The worship turned into faith energy and was collected by the system again. Unfortunately, this girl didn't know that the fight Ning Tian was talking about was not the fight she had imagined. Okay, take me to see that girl Yu Qin. Ning Tian recalled that she still had a several-meter-long demonic beast horsewhip in her storage ring and wanted to ask Yu Qin to take care of it. Yu Qin? Yu Ling nodded and thought for a moment. Generally speaking, that girl should be at the ethereal mountain cliff now. The ethereal mountain cliff? Okay, tell me the location. On the east side. Okay, Shabi, let's go. Ning Tian said casually, pulled the woman and beast, and stepped into the void. At the ethereal mountain cliff, a small figure was sitting cross-legged at the bottom of the cliff. It was Yu Qin. Looking around, the entire cliff was filled with some ancient words. At this moment, she seemed to be comprehending something. Her small face was slightly wrinkled as she pondered hard. However, it's so difficult. My little head can't hold these things at all. Master is making things difficult for me. After a while, she curled her lips and gave up. Oh? At this moment, a laugh sounded. If Master Nan Yin hears your words, I'm afraid you're little, but will be beaten again. Beaten? Hearing this, Yu Qin subconsciously covered her little butt. After being stunned for a moment, she reacted. Senior sister? She turned around and saw two people and a beast. Senior sister and Master? Why are you here? Yu Qin's beautiful eyes flashed, and she quickly got up and ran over to the two. Chapter 337. Senior sister, why are you here? It was obvious that Yu Qin was quite happy about Moon Spirit's arrival. She hugged Moon Spirit and smirked. Hee, senior sister, I realize that you, are developing really fast. Stupid girl, you're talking nonsense. Also, don't take advantage of me. Moon Spirit was stunned for a moment. Feeling that little hand playing tricks on her, she blushed and immediately scolded. It's clearly there. Yu Qin giggled and let go of Moon Spirit. Then, she raised her little hands and gestured. It was clearly this big before, but now it's so big. Seeing her gesturing, Moon Spirit's face turned even redder. This girl just likes to mess around. To the side, Ning Tian and the flame-sealing Lion King were watching with great interest and admiration. Hee hee. The two girls played around for a while before stopping. Yuqin looked at Ning Tian with a blushing face. After all, that girl was not in love. She whispered, "Ancestral Master, you're here too?" "Yes." Ning Tian nodded with a smile. Looking at the cautious Yuqin, he could not help but tease, "You don't look like the fearless Yuqin now." I. Yuqin opened her mouth and then pouted, "Humph. I'm still the fearless Yuqin now. Even if Ancestral Master wants me to steal a horse, I'll still do it. Speaking of horses, I have a horsewhip here that I want you to help me take care of," Ning Tian said with a smile. "Horsewhip? Meat?" Yuqin's eyes widened as she drooled. "Why are you so excited?" Moon Spirit did not understand. "Senior sister, you don't understand. If you don't work hard, there's something wrong with your brain. Moreover, since the last time I came back, Master has not given me meat to eat. I'm starving to death." Yuqin pouted with an aggrieved expression. Seeing this, Ning Tian and Moon Spirit looked at each other and smiled. Suddenly, Yuqin glanced at the flame-sealing Lion King, who had turned back into a tiny lion, and her eyes flashed with a glint. So cute. She hugged the Lion King in her arms and rubbed its soft fur. "It's so soft and cute." The sealing flame Lion King in his arms had a look of enjoyment. Although this girl was not very impressive, she was still quite fragrant. When they saw this, Ning Tian and Yuling wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. They could only helplessly hold their foreheads. If Yuqin knew that she was hugging a perverted lion, she would probably cry herself to death, right? Just as the two of them were expressing their sympathy, Yuqin, who was hugging the Lion King, suddenly spoke up. "Ancestor, this demonic beast is so cute. It must be delicious, right?" Hearing this, Ning Tian and Moon Spirit were stunned. Flame-sealing Lion King was still enjoying Yuqin's embrace when it suddenly heard this. Its body trembled, and all its hair stood on end. It struggled to escape from her embrace. F***CK. "Master Lion treated you as a maid, but you actually treated me as food. How dare you? Evil humans. You actually used your appearance to confuse Master Lion King. Haha." Seeing that the sealing flame Lion King was at a disadvantage, Ning Tian and Moon Spirit could not help but laugh. Everything had its counter. Yuqin seemed to be able to restrain the sealing flame Lion King. "Shabi, if you don't listen in the future, I'll get Yuqin to take you to the kitchen for a walk." Ning Tian looked at the sealing flame Lion King with a smile and said meaningfully, "Awua." Hearing this, the sealing flame Lion King immediately became obedient and hid behind Moon Spirit. "Senior sister, why did you bring Ancestor to the ethereal sect?" At this moment, Yuqin thought of the main point and could not help but ask. "There's something. You'll know later." Moon Spirit smiled and said, "Speaking of which, Master didn't call you to the ethereal mountain cliff to let you practice the ethereal path, right?" "Yes." At the mention of this, Yuqin's face turned bitter and pouted. "How can the ethereal path be so easy to enter? Senior sister, even you and Senior sister Tian Xiang had to spend several years to successfully comprehend it. Master wants me to comprehend it in a single year? I feel that she's definitely dreaming." Yuqin pouted with a face full of dissatisfaction. "Silly girl." Moon Spirit lovingly rubbed Yuqin's head and said with a smile, "Girl, your talent is much better than mine. It's just that you don't cultivate seriously. Otherwise, Master wouldn't have locked you up." "Oh." Yuqin stuck out her tongue and muttered softly, "Cultivating is not as good as eating." Seeing this, Moon Spirit bitterly smiled and shook her head. "So, what is the ethereal path?" At this moment, Ning Tian asked curiously. There were 3,000 das. Although he did not know if there were 3,000, there were still many das that he did not understand. "The ethereal path is..." Yuqin was about to say some great principles, but before she could finish, she was stuck. "Lass, who told you not to listen to your master's words? Great, now you don't even know how to explain the ethereal Tao." Moon Spirit smiled and shook her head. "Heh. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk." Yuqin stuck out her tongue and chuckled. Ancestral Master, the ethereal path is illusory and ethereal, and the body can split into thousands, Moon Spirit explained for Yuqin. Illusory and ethereal, and the body can split into thousands? Hearing this, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows.
Yes.
Moon Spirit nodded with a smile. Then, with a slight movement of her body, she was actually split into two. Two Moon Spirits? Ning Tian was stunned. Ancestral Master, this is one of the two abilities of the ethereal path. The body can split into thousands. However, my comprehension is still a little weak, so I can only split into two. The two Moon Spirits said in unison.
Furthermore, the two clones are both real.
Oh, interesting. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. If he taught this to his wives, wouldn't they be happier? Cough, cough. Off topic, off topic. He coughed dryly, looked at the cliff of Ethereal Mountain, and asked again, what about the first ability? I'm not too sure about the first ability. After all, it's already very difficult to comprehend the ethereal path, let alone take it a step further. The two Moon Spirits merged back into one. She shook her head and said, it was still a little difficult for her to comprehend two skills at the moment. Is that so? Interesting. Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly. Then, he walked towards the cliff of Ethereal Mountain. Seeing this, the two girls were stunned. What was the Ancestral Master doing? Ning Tian touched the cliff with both hands. Before he touched it, suddenly, the entire cliff shook violently. Then, all the ancient words carved on the cliff lit up. In an instant, the golden light shone, illuminating the entire ethereal sect. Chapter 338. Boom. All of a sudden, on the ethereal mountain cliff, all the ancient runes exploded with a bright golden light, turning into streaks of energy that rushed toward Ning Tian. Boom, boom. The cliff shook. A ray of golden light exploded. The entire ethereal sect could feel the shaking and the golden light. Senior sister, what did the Ancestral Master do? Sensing the commotion around her, Yuqin's expression changed. She looked in the direction of the ethereal mountain cliff and couldn't help but be shocked. This Moon Spirit stared blankly at this scene. The golden light shone on her body, and her eyes were bright. After being stunned for a long time, she smiled bitterly. Don't be surprised. You have to know that the person who caused this commotion is none other than the Ancestral Master. If he couldn't cause a commotion, then he wouldn't be the Ancestral Master, right? Hearing this, although Yuqin's expression was a little strange, she vaguely felt that Moon Spirit's words made sense. After all, the Ancestral Master had caused a huge commotion in the Supreme Secret Realm. After spending so much time with Senior Brother and the others, I almost forgot that the Ancestral Master who is younger than them is actually a great emperor. Yuqin curled her lips and looked in the direction of Ning Tian excitedly. I wonder what kind of commotion the Ancestral Master will cause this time. The two girls were puzzled and looked at Ning Tian. At the bottom of the ethereal mountain cliff, Ning Tian touched the stone wall with one hand. Instantly, all the ancient runes lit up, and a huge amount of information poured into his mind. Oh, the ethereal Tao is actually so simple, he muttered to himself. The corner of his mouth lifted into a confident smile. The ethereal Tao attainments was not as difficult as he imagined. Boom! The cliff shook, and the ancient runes flashed with golden light. Seeing this, Ning Tian no longer hesitated and directly activated the Sanching art, activating 100-fold comprehension, comprehending the ethereal Tao attainments at 100-fold speed. Host, please wait patiently. When the system's voice sounded, the ancient runes on the cliff that seemed to be embedded in the stone wall all fell off at this moment, and all of them flashed with golden light and surrounded Ning Tian. F***CK. Seeing this, Yuqin shouted in a very unladylike manner. Her beautiful eyes were wide open. She suddenly thought of something. If the Patriarch had absorbed all the ancient texts carved on the cliff of the ethereal mountain, how would the disciples of the ethereal sect be able to comprehend the ethereal Tao? One had to know. The one who carved the method of comprehension on the cliff of the Misty Mountain was not their current sect master. Even if the sect master knew the ethereal Tao attainments, it did not mean that others could comprehend it. This moon spirit was also stunned on the spot as she frowned slightly. Is Patriarch not giving any chance to the ethereal sect's disciples? He's a ruthless person. However, actually, Moon Spirit had misunderstood. These ancient runes falling off was not caused by Ning Tian's initiative, but by themselves. Strange. What are these ancient characters? Although Ning Tian was comprehending the ethereal Tao, he could still sense the changes in the outside world. Host, this might mean that the deeper level of the ethereal path has acknowledged you. You can also choose not to absorb it and ignore the ancient text. Once you have comprehended it, it will return to its original position. Oh, has it acknowledged me? Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly as he smiled faintly and shook his head. Then I'm really flattered. However, if I were to absorb it, wouldn't the ethereal sect's disciples be unable to comprehend it? I'm not such a person who does things that are absolute. After all, I'm a good person. So, Ning Tian took a deep breath and grinned. Absorb it. The system was speechless. Okay, host. Absorbing at 100 times the speed of absorption. Absorbing deeper level of attainments. Boom. Instantly, a huge suction force exploded from his body. The surrounding ancient characters turned into streams of golden energy and entered his body. He could not be blamed for this. These ancient characters were the ones who were trying to cheat him. He was just accepting them. Yes, that was right. Patriarch was a good person. While Ning Tian was absorbing the ethereal Tao attainments with all his might, ethereal hall. Oh, Sect Master Wu Dao, do you mean that you want to borrow my ethereal sect's heavenly god's sacred pond? In the hall, a red-clothed woman looked at the person below with a smile on her face as she spoke faintly. She was dressed in red and had a beautiful face. The ethereal aura around her gave her a mysterious feeling. She was the sect master of the ethereal sect. Hongi. Yes, sect master and I. The sect master of the 5 paths sect nodded and looked at Hongi with a hint of greed. Hongi was recognized as one of the top 3 beauties in the Chaos Imperial region. She was undoubtedly a stunning beauty. Oh, I see. It's a pity. Hongi's red lips parted slightly. Before she could finish her sentence, the entire ethereal hall shook violently. Many elders in the hall almost fell to the ground. What's going on? What happened? The expressions of the ethereal sect elders changed as they were at a loss. Hongi frowned and looked at Elder Tianfeng, who had just returned, and ordered, Elder Tianfeng, go outside the hall and see what's going on. Yes, sect master. Elder Tianfeng nodded slightly. He turned around. He stepped out of the hall. Instantly, the golden light was dazzling and dazzling. Within the golden light, there seemed to be a huge figure. F***CK. Elder Tianfeng's face changed drastically. He quickly turned around and ran back into the hall. Sect master. Sect master, light? I saw a ray of bright and dazzling light. Someone turned into light. Elder Tianfeng couldn't even speak clearly anymore. Hongi frowned. She moved and stepped into the void. In the next instant, she appeared outside the hall. Seeing this, all the elders in the hall quickly followed her. Sect Master Wu Dao narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself, is something big going to happen in the ethereal sect? The sacred pool. As he thought about it, he stepped out and followed them. Outside the hall, all the elders looked at the horizon in shock. The golden light covered the sky and covered the earth. Within the golden light, it was just as Elder Tianfeng had said. There was a gigantic human figure. Comprehending the celestial body, Hongi squinted her beautiful eyes and looked at Elder Nanyan. She said calmly, Elder Nanyan, is this the direction of the ethereal mountain cliff of Yin Peak? Yes, sect master. At this moment, Elder Nanyan was also puzzled. What was going on? Elders, follow me to take a look, Hongi said, and led the group of elders in the direction of the ethereal mountain cliff. At the ethereal mountain cliff, Senior. Senior sister, the ancestral master has become so big. Yuqin raised her snow-white neck slightly and looked at the huge figure behind Ning Tian that was shining with golden light. Yes. Moon Spirit nodded slightly. Her eyes were filled with shock. She saw the golden figure that was at least 10,000 feet tall. At this moment, she remembered a sentence that had been passed down in the Tianma cult. With the ancestral master, there was no surprise. Although she knew there would be surprise, this was too heaven-defying. Chapter 339. Boom. At this moment, Ning Tian was shrouded in golden light. Behind him, 1,000 feet large Dharma body appeared. It stepped on the mountain peak and rushed into the clouds. At this moment, dozens of figures landed at the bottom of the ethereal mountain. Yueling? Yuqin? You're here too? Elder Nan Yan's voice sounded as she walked towards the two girls. Master, when did you? The two women subconsciously turned around and saw a large group of elders and Inai Hongi behind them. Instantly, the two of them felt guilty and avoided eye contact. After all, the one who caused the commotion was their patriarch, an outsider who did not belong to the ethereal sect. What are you two girls doing? Nan Yan's master asked hurriedly. She looked at the young man sitting on the ethereal mountain's cliff, and her heart was in turmoil. Who was this young man? How could he cause the entire ethereal mountain's cliff to resonate? At this moment, Inai Hongi and the group of ethereal sect elders froze on the spot as though they were petrified. Each of them looked at the scene in front of them with a strange expression. The young man in front of them was sitting cross-legged. Behind him was a Dharma body. It was 10,000 feet tall and dazzling with golden light. It even caused the ethereal Tao engraved on the ethereal mountain's cliff to resonate. So powerful. All the ethereal sect elders widened their eyes in shock and excitement. Since when did their ethereal sect have such a powerful disciple? Elder Tianfeng, is this disciple from Sky Gazing Peak? No. Elder Nanyan, is this disciple from Sky Peak? No. Elder Fengemo, this disciple? No. So, who is this person? The group of elders questioned spiritually as they looked at each other. This young man was indeed quite powerful. But who was he? He's not our ethereal sect's disciple. At this moment, Inai Hongi said indifferently. Her gaze was fixed on Ning Tian. 1,000 feet large Dharma body. This was enough to show that this young man was not simple. Outsider. Hearing this, the group of elders was stunned. Sect leader, should we stop him? After all, an outsider comprehended our ethereal sect's Tao attainments. This isn't too good, right? The group of elders frowned with somewhat ugly expressions. Wait. No. When Elder Tianfeng heard this, his expression immediately changed. He hurriedly shook his head. Then, under the puzzled gazes of the elders, he hurriedly recounted what he had just said. What? Stepping on the void? A great emperor? At this moment, within ethereal sect, everyone's expressions changed drastically. Even Inai Hongi furrowed her brows as a glint flickered in her eyes. An Emperor Realm expert? His voice faded. Her lips curled into a cold smile as she sensed the aura flowing out. When her gaze landed on Ning Tian, the smile on her face suddenly froze. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and she was shocked in her heart. I can't sense his strength. Could it be that his strength is above mine? Moon Spirit, who is he? At this moment, Elder Nanyan could not help but panic. She only knew that Moon Spirit had brought someone to ethereal sect to ask for a favor. However, she had never thought that the person Moon Spirit had brought would be an Emperor Realm expert. Master Nanyan, you've seen him before. However, before his identity was exposed, you had already returned to ethereal sect. Moon Spirit shook her head as she looked at Ning Tian and said slowly to Elder Nanyan, I've seen him before. Elder Nanyan frowned. He's the handsome Ning from that day. What? As soon as Elder Nanyan said that, Elder Nanyan's expression changed drastically as she inhaled a mouthful of cold air. Her eyes were filled with shock. She looked at Ning Tian, and her mind went blank. It was hard for her to associate the handsome Ning Tian in front of her with the ugly handsome Ning from that day. Most importantly, the jump in strength was too fast. A holy emperor had become an emperor realm expert? It was like a F***king dream. Sect leader, what should we do? The elders were at a loss when they heard that Ning Tian was also an emperor realm expert. Although there were two emperors in ethereal sect, one should not forget that there were different tribulations among the emperors. Their sect leader, Hongi, was only a 7 tribulations emperor. However, the young man in front of them had an unknown tribulations. They did not dare to act rashly. Let's wait and see. Hongi pursed her red lips as her beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian. Yes, the group of elders nodded, their hearts still palpitating with fear. Everyone's gaze landed on Ning Tian. At this moment, the sect leader of the 5 Dao sects landed slowly. I didn't expect everyone to be here. He glanced at Ning Tian, who was sitting cross-legged at the side, but did not take it to heart. He was obviously distracted, and his thoughts were on the heavenly sacred lake. Sect leader of the 5 Dao sects, why are you only here now? Did you secretly go to the heavenly sacred lake? Hongi looked at sect leader of the 5 Dao sects coldly. Ha ha ha, sect leader you must be joking. Sect leader of the 5 Dao sects laughed as a glimmer of light flashed across his eyes. He had indeed taken the opportunity to sneak in. However, he sensed that there was another Emperor Realm expert in that direction. He guessed that the other Emperor Realm expert of ethereal sect was guarding the lake. Hongi did not say anything else as she looked at the cliff of ethereal mountain. Sect leader of the 5 Dao sects crossed his arms as he looked on coldly. Who could cause such a commotion in ethereal sect? Why had he not seen this young man before? At this moment, the golden light had attracted the attention of all the disciples of ethereal sect. Their eyes were filled with shock and awe as they looked at the golden figure that was thousands of feet tall. Boom! At the cliff of ethereal mountain, a commotion ensued. Then, the golden figure suddenly turned into rays of golden light and shone on Ning Tian, who was sitting cross-legged. At the same time, the system's voice rang in Ning Tian's mind. Ethereal Dao, successfully comprehended. Absorbing. Host, please be prepared. Hearing this, Ning Tian's expression turned solemn as he nodded his head silently. Boom. In the blink of an eye, the golden light was enlightened. The golden light was dazzling. It shone on the entire cliff of ethereal mountain. In an instant, all the elders turned to look at the golden light. Waves of shock surged in their hearts. F***, what a dazzling golden light. My eyes. They are blinding my titanium divine eyes. All the elders' faces changed drastically. Hongi squinted her eyes as she looked at the dazzling golden light. The dazzling golden light lasted for more than half an hour before it finally came to an end. Hongi and the other elders of ethereal sect looked over and their faces changed. They were shocked once again. Wow, senior sister, there are so many ancestral masters in the sky. On the side, Yuqin cried out in surprise. Chapter 340. In the sky, there were countless Ning Tians. Every Ning Tian's body had a trace of ethereal energy flowing out. Every one of them looked fake, but the energy that they emitted was extremely real. 999 ethereal clones. Holy H**T. I touched the ethereal Tao when I was 300 years old. Now that I'm 1,700 years old, I can only condense 500 ethereal clones. How long has it been since this young man condensed 990 ethereal clones? Holy H**T. Old man Fengemo, you better shut up. You're considered good. How can people like us who only have 300 to 400 endure? No. In the sky, the number of ethereal clones is still increasing. What? Holy H**T. Who is this? In an instant, the entire ethereal mountain's cliff was in an uproar. All the elders had a strange expression, and their eyes were filled with shock. Was there no end to this? Hiss! and Hongyi's eyes shone brightly. She looked calm, but her heart was not. Before Master went to the realm of gods, he wrote down the comprehension of the ethereal Tao. Until now, no one has truly comprehended it. Even I, she muttered and could not help but feel guilty. However, no matter how she comprehended it, she could not comprehend the true ethereal Tao. Boom. In the sky, Ning Tian's ethereal clones were thousands. The number of ethereal clones was increasing. 999, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, over 10,000. So powerful. Isn't this too heaven-defying? The shock in everyone's heart had already reached its peak. Seeing Ning Tian's ethereal clones casually changing into hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of ethereal clones, this group of ethereal sect's elders who had cultivated for hundreds or even thousands of years began to doubt their lives. Could it be, just because he was a great emperor, he could do whatever he wanted? Boom. Golden light flickered. In the sky, there were already tens of thousands of Ning Tian. So many ancestors, so many ancestors. Hee hee. I miss, asterisk omega backslash asterisk. Yuqin chuckled and secretly wiped her saliva. However, this scene was still seen by Moon Spirit. She couldn't help but frown and ask, Yuqin, what are you thinking? Hee hee. Nothing, nothing. Yuqin shook her head repeatedly. At the side, the ceiling flame lion king arrogantly glanced at Yuqin and coldly roared. She was just a silly little girl. Sure enough, it could be easily shaken. Wasn't it just a few thousand masters? What was there to be excited about? Could he learn from Master Lion's calmness? Even if a few thousand lionesses were placed in front of Master Lion would not be moved at all. Look, there are changes in the sky again. At this moment, Elder Tianfeng suddenly saw something. His expression changed slightly, and he shouted loudly. In an instant, everyone's gaze turned to look at him again. In the sky, golden light flickered. All of the illusory doppelgangers dissipated, turning into strands of golden light that returned to Ning Tian's body. What is he trying to do? Could it be that 10,000 ethereal avatars is the limit? And Hongyi frowned, sensing that something was wrong. In terms of causing a stir, the young man in front of her definitely surpassed her by a lot. However, her current understanding of the ethereal Tao was also able to turn into 10,000 Tao, far surpassing Ning Tian's. However, this was not right. Everyone's gaze fell on Ning Tian. At this moment, a mumble came from the sky. Ethereal Tao can turn into 10,000. However, the ethereal Tao body is only the surface and not the true essence. Ethereal. What exactly is it? Hearing Ning Tian's mumble, the group of ethereal sect elders was puzzled. What is he saying? Hearing this, only an Hongyi was stunned. Her red lips moved slightly, and there was a trace of disbelief in the depths of her eyes. He is searching for the true ethereal Tao. However, other than Master, is there anyone else in the world who can truly comprehend the ethereal Tao? Her eyes gradually became firm. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Once one believed in something, it would not be disrupted. More so, it would not be disrupted by an outsider. In the sky, Ning Tian's mumbling continued. If the ethereal Tao body can turn into 10,000 Tao bodies, then it is very simple. As his voice faded, in the sky, 10,000 ethereal Tao bodies instantly appeared. What? 10,000 is not his limit. Seeing this scene, the elders who originally thought that Ning Tian was already heaven-defying had a change in expression. This is, even an Hongyi, who originally had a firm gaze, was a little shaken. With a slight thought, he could turn into 10,000 Tao bodies. This was too terrifying. However, in the sky, Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of light, and he shook his head. No, this is not it. As his voice faded, the 10,000 ethereal Tao bodies dissipated. He said in his heart, System, I want to deduce. Using the Great Tao Deduction. Obtained from Chapter 132. Using Tao Deduction. Deduction in progress. As the system's voice faded, the Tao Deduction was activated. Next, The group of ethereal sect elders saw a scene that they might only see once in their lives. In the sky, Ning Tian's ethereal Tao bodies were constantly changing. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. In fact, it had reached tens of millions. The sky was densely packed, and all of them were ancestral masters. This scene stunned everyone from ethereal sect. However, when everyone was shocked, they were filled with emotions. In the sky, the heaven-defying Lord said softly, "Not enough. It's far from enough." Hence, the deduction began again. When the originally numb crowd heard this, they only felt pain in their chests. Did you hear what a human is saying? Some elders had already begun to go berserk. Ah, don't stop me. This old man wants to kill this pretentious bastard. This old man wants to perish together with him. This old man has cultivated for thousands of years, and I only have a few hundred Tao bodies. This bastard, in the blink of an eye, tens of millions, and he still says it's not enough. This old man wants to kill him. Elder Fengimo, calm down. An elder wanted to persuade him. However, when he heard the sigh in the sky, his eyes instantly turned red, and his tone changed. Damn, calm down my ass. Damn it, he's simply not human. This old man can't reach this level even if he spends his entire life. Sigh. I'm really ket up. The sounds of sighs, vomiting blood, and angry voices rose and fell one after another. At this moment, the hearts of the ethereal sect elders were completely disrupted. The expression in Enai Hongi's eyes also changed from firm to wavering, and finally to bright eyes. She stared at Ning Tian, unable to take her eyes off him, and muttered softly, Soon, we're almost there. Bang, bang, bang. Right at this moment, in the sky, tens of millions of clones merged into one, and golden light shone. Chapter 341. The golden light was dazzling. Everyone's gazes turned to look at him. They saw, in the sky, thousands of illusory figures transformed into wisps of golden light and charged toward Ning Tian. Boom! In an instant, the light was dazzling. At the same time, Ning Tian was enveloped by an illusory aura. At the sight of that, the ethereal sect elders were filled with deep shock under the dazzling golden light. Gasps could be heard. It was incessant. What a powerful aura. This is the illusory aura. Legend has it that one can only comprehend the illusory aura after cultivating the ethereal Tao to the extreme. Damn, how is this possible? Doesn't this thing only exist in legends? Even if this young man is a great emperor expert, he can't be so heaven-defying. At this moment, the group of elders from the ethereal sect were all in a state of stupefaction and shock. He really did it. Enai Hongi covered her red lips, her beautiful eyes revealing a trace of disbelief. She had comprehended for 100 years, but had not made any progress. The young man in front of her had sat cross-legged under the cliff of the ethereal mountain for a few hours. He had reached the peak from the beginner realm. Enai Hongi found it hard to imagine what kind of talent he had to be able to achieve this. Even the gods' children in the Chaos Imperial domain who think highly of themselves can't do this. Enai Hongi muttered to herself and shook her head. The young man in front of her was definitely the most talented person in history. On this point, she believed it without a doubt, because in the Tianxian continent, there had never been a genius who could perfectly grasp a Tao attainment in just a few hours. In the sky, the golden light had dissipated, and the thousands of illusory figures had merged into one. Stopping. Tao demonstration completed. Ning Tian stood in the sky, looking at the wisp of aura in his hand and muttering to himself, The true ethereal Tao is so simple. The wisp of aura in his hand was the true ethereal aura. Simple? Hearing this, the elders' mouths twitched. At this moment, Ning Tian's voice sounded again. Every ethereal doppelganger contains a trace of extremely fine ethereal qi. As long as there are enough ethereal doppelganger and they are gathered together, one will be able to obtain this powerful ethereal power. Not bad. Interesting. This ethereal Tao can indeed be taught to my wife and the others. The corners of Ning Tian's lips curled up slightly as he stared at the wisp of ethereal energy in his hand. The ethereal avatar was only the prerequisite for the Tao of ethereal. What was truly powerful was the misty qi. Although there was only a single wisp of qi formed by the thousands of clones, its power was truly boundless. The true strength of the misty aura was that it could be used in conjunction with other attacks. It was equivalent to enchantment. It was a disguised way to increase the power of his moves. Upon hearing that, the group of ethereal sect elders were stunned as they remained silent for a long time. They seemed to have unknowingly understood the true ethereal Tao. However, their gazes landed on the wisp of misty qi in Ning Tian's hand, and the corners of their mouths twitched. Damn it! Thousands of ethereal avatars could only condense that tiny bit of misty qi. Even if they understood what the ethereal Tao was, they would not be able to condense so many ethereal avatars. Without ethereal avatars, there was no way they could refine the misty qi. Right then, the group of ethereal sect elders felt terrible, as though they had eaten shit. They clearly knew how to cultivate, but they did not have the ability and could only watch helplessly. So, that's the case, and Hangi frowned slightly. Although she knew, it was still somewhat difficult for her. At this moment, above the firmament, looking at the wisp of misty qi in his hand, Ning Tian shook his head slightly. It's a pity that it's still too little. I'll try to create more ethereal avatars next time. At the end of the day, I'm still too weak. Weak? At this moment, 3 question marks appeared in the minds of all the ethereal sect elders. All of them glared at Ning Tian furiously. Although this lad was very handsome, he was infuriating. He had already mastered the ethereal Tao completely, and he still said that he was weak? Really shameless, really shameless. He's not human. However, what this group of elders did not know was that Ning Tian was really that shameless. He really did not act like a human for a long time. The most important thing was that Ning Tian's sigh was indeed from the bottom of his heart. After all, he was only at the peak of Sky Venerable Realm, half-step God Emperor. Compared to his wives, he was indeed weaker. This was indeed the truth. Elder Fengemo, pull yourself together. Ah, this old man. Not good. Elder Fengemo has lost his mind from anger. Elder Han Qin has also fainted from anger. At this moment, this group of ethereal sect elders were all dealt a blow, killing someone's heart. This was something that their patriarch had always done very well. I just don't know, under the enchantment of misty qi, how powerful will this palm be? A doubtful voice floated from the firmament. And Hangi suddenly reacted, and her face changed. This fellow Taoist, please don't try it. Her delicate body moved, wanting to stop him. However, boom, boom, the palm landed. In the fairyland like ethereal immortal mountain, a beautiful spiritual energy mushroom cloud slowly rose. Boom. In an instant, the mountains shattered and the ground collapsed. Seeing this scene, the group of ethereal sect was instantly stunned. And Hangi was also stunned on the spot. Good, so powerful. The corner of Hangi's mouth raised into a wry smile. Her ethereal immortal mountain had probably not been damaged like this for hundreds of years. TSK, as expected of the patriarch, dismantling words first. No matter who you are, dismantling first is a form of respect. At the side, Yuqin clicked her tongue and sighed. Moon Spirit also responded with a wry smile. Only the ceiling flame Lion King, who took out a pen and paper from nowhere, looked at Ning Tian in the sky and wrote something on the paper under the dumbfounded gaze of the group of elders. Roar. Master destroyed 10,000 meters this time. I cannot fall behind. This is a good tradition. I must inherit. 3. Not bad. A casual attack can cause such power. Under the enchantment of misty qi, even ordinary attacks are strengthened. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth rose slightly and he nodded in satisfaction. Then, he put away the misty qi, looked at the people below with a calm expression, and slowly descended from the sky. At the same time, the system's voice began to ring in his mind. You shocked an Ihongi. You shocked Moon Spirit. You shocked Yuchin. You shocked the elders of Ethereal Sect. You shocked the disciples of Ethereal Sect. Received a shocking reward. Chapter 342. The system's voice sounded in his mind. Obtained the Celestial Body Tempering card. When used together with the Celestial God Pool, the absorption rate will reach 1000%. Obtained the Extermination card. The literal meaning of the effect. Note: this card is too heaven-defying. It is valid for 5 days, and the range of use is limited to 10,000 meters. Upon hearing this, even Ning Tian couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This reward, it was too great. Double yokes and double rewards. Both of the rewards were extremely unbelievable. First, it was the 1,000-fold absorption. This had already played a vital role in increasing one's strength. And there was the Extermination card. This, the literal meaning of the effect. With one palm, the entire sect would be annihilated. Damn it, this was ridiculous. However, the restriction was also very high. If it was not used in 5 days, it would expire and the range was only 10,000 meters. Otherwise, Ning Tian would definitely make a move right now, find a powerful force, and destroy it with a single palm strike. It was a pity. These two conditions were a little too demanding. However, this was normal. Phew. Ning Tian took a deep breath and immediately walked toward the Ethereal Sect people. Seeing this, the group of Ethereal Sect elders was so scared that they retreated continuously. The young man in front of them was not to be trifled with. I'm sorry for causing such damage. However, Ning Tian only smiled apologetically at Ihongi and the rest. Instantly, the group of elders was stunned. Humble, strong, talented, and King handsome. This young man could be said to be perfect. He was much more pleasing to the eye than those self-righteous sons of God. Looking at Ning Tian's apologetic smile, Ihongi was stunned for a moment. Her heart trembled slightly, and then she shook her head slightly. Forget it, it's just 10,000 meters of damage. I'll ask the elders to repair it. Ning Tian chuckled and sized Ihongi up. Very beautiful but not strong enough. It's a pity. He shook his head slightly. Ihongi, on the other hand, was stunned for a moment, not knowing what to do. He didn't understand what Ning Tian meant. However, if she understood what Ning Tian meant, she would probably think that he was angry. After all, the hidden meaning behind his words was that although she was beautiful, she was not strong enough to be his wife's sister. Ihongi was confused. However, his gaze still landed on Ning Tian. How should I address you, fellow Taoist? How do I address you? Ning Tian stroked his chin and chuckled. My name is Ning Tian, but I'm used to people calling me Patriarch. Patriarch? Ihongi was stunned for a moment before she nodded slightly. She didn't think that Ning Tian was trying to take advantage of her. After all, with Ning Tian's strength, he was indeed qualified to be an ancestor. So, Patriarch, why did Yueling bring you here? Could it be for the ethereal Tao? Ihongi frowned as she asked. That's not true. Ning Tian shook his head and said calmly, I discovered the ethereal Tao by accident, and I didn't intend to cultivate it. Hearing this, Ihongi and the others twitched their mouths. It was ridiculous for him to reach the peak without intending to cultivate it. So, Patriarch, why did you come to the ethereal sect? Ihongi's beautiful eyes landed on Ning Tian. Ning Tian smiled and said softly, The heavenly sacred pool? The heavenly sacred pool? Ihongi was stunned when she heard this. She looked at the sect leader of the 5 Tao sects and said, It seems like Patriarch wants to borrow the heavenly sacred pool, just like the sect leader of the 5 Tao sects. However, the heavenly sacred pool can only be used by one person at a time. So, both of you? The corners of Ihongi's mouth lifted slightly. Oh? The sect leader of the 5 Tao sects also wants to borrow the heavenly sacred pool? Ning Tian looked over and calmly looked at the sect leader of the 5 Tao sects. In an instant, the sect leader of the 5 Tao sects trembled and squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. No, no, I don't dare to. I was just passing by. I just remembered that my mother is calling me home for dinner. Sect leader and you guys have a chat. I'll take my leave first. Having said that, the sect leader of the 5 Tao sects soared into the sky. His body was still trembling, and he flew away without looking back. Damn, that's too scary. How could he compete with such an expert for the heavenly sacred pool? He was not stupid. The sect leader of the 5 Tao sects soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Ning Tian looked at Hongi and said calmly, So, sect leader and you can let me use the heavenly sacred pool? Yes, but I have an unsolicited request. I hope Patriarch can agree to it. Hongi nodded and said slowly, What is it? Ning Tian asked. That is, I hope Patriarch can carve the way to comprehend the ethereal Tao on the cliff of the ethereal mountain. Hongi smiled bitterly and said helplessly. The group of elders behind her looked on eagerly. After all, after Ning Tian absorbed the way to comprehend the ethereal Tao on the cliff of the ethereal mountain, the disciples of the ethereal sect could no longer use it to cultivate the ethereal Tao. If they could not cultivate the ethereal Tao, then wouldn't the ethereal sect live up to its name? Ning Tian couldn't help but chuckle when she saw Hongi and the group of elders looking at her in an extremely humble manner. She nodded and said, All right. Anyway, it was just a matter of moving his fingers. Sect leader and please gather all the disciples of the ethereal sect. He looked at Hongi and said, Gather all the disciples? Hongi was stunned. She did not understand, but she still nodded and said, We'll do as Patriarch said. She looked at the group of elders behind her and said, Elder Tianfeng, Elder Nanyan, please gather all the disciples of the sect at the cliff of the ethereal mountain. Yes, sect leader. Elder Tianfeng and Elder Nanyan nodded. At this moment, the two of them were still in a daze. This was especially true for Elder Nanyan. Although she had initially thought that handsome Ning was extraordinary, she had never imagined that he would be so extraordinary that he would surpass everyone else. Congratulations, Patriarch. At this moment, Moon Spirit and Yuqin walked over. On the side, the ceiling flame Lion King was still scribbling down the ancestral master's words. The group of elders looked at each other. How could a demonic beast write so quickly these days? What they did not know was that this demonic beast could not only write, but also practice swordsmanship. Oh, could it be that the Patriarch is also from the heavenly spirit region? Hongi could not help but guess when she saw Moon Spirit and Ning Tian's familiar faces. Ning Tian chuckled and did not deny it. Everyone says that the heavenly spirit region is small, but I did not expect such a small region to produce a monster like the Patriarch. Hongi shook her head when she heard Ning Tian's affirmation. It's a pity that I do not know much about the heavenly spirit region. I have not paid attention to the news of the heavenly spirit region all these years. Hearing this, Ning Tian said meaningfully, Fortunately, sect leader and I did not pay attention. Otherwise, I'm afraid you would not be able to stand firm. Chapter 343. Can't stand properly? Hongi was stunned for a moment, and her face turned red. Did she misunderstand? Or did the ancestral master mean something? Ning Tian smiled and did not say anything. He was right. After all, if Hongi knew that the young man in front of her had single-handedly killed half of the great emperors of the Void God Heavenly Palace, one of the top 3 forces in the Chaos Emperor realm, and that more than 10 great emperors had died in his hands, she would probably be so scared that she could not stand properly. Those great emperors were like chickens and dogs to Ning Tian. He could kill them as he wished. Soon, more and more disciples of the ethereal sect came to the cliff of the ethereal mountain. Apart from being dumbfounded, there was nothing else on their faces. What the hell was that mushroom cloud of spiritual energy that exploded in the ethereal immortal mountain? There was also the golden light and the giant of light, as well as the countless handsome young men in the sky. What the hell was that? Their minds were in a mess, and they had no idea what had happened. Sect Master, all the disciples are here. Elder Tianfeng and Elder Nanyan walked over and said to Anai Hongi. Okay. Anai Hongi nodded slightly. Ning Tian looked over and could not help but frown slightly. Sect Master and I, aren't there too few disciples in your ethereal sect? Looking around, there were only a few thousand disciples in the ethereal sect. In the vast firmament territory, this was indeed a little too little. After all, the ethereal sect had 2 great emperors. We can't do anything about it. Anai Hongi shook her head slightly and said helplessly, after all, in the entire Chaos Emperor realm, only the powerful sects can recruit disciples at will. Small sects like us have a limit. Limit? Who can limit you? Ning Tian frowned slightly. 2 great emperors, no matter how you looked at it, couldn't be considered weak. God's children, and many of them. Only a few forces in the Chaos Emperor realm would dare to ignore the rules set by them, Anai Hongi said. Oh, God's children? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly.
Yes.
Anai Hongi nodded. The children of gods, as the name suggests, are the descendants of those godly realm experts left behind in the primal chaos imperial domain. Their forces are extremely powerful, but what makes people fear them is the gods behind them. I see. Ning Tian nodded slightly. The expression on his face was still calm, as if he wasn't moved at all. What bullshit, son of God. Just destroy them. Seeing Ning Tian's calmness, Anai Hongi bitterly smiled. As expected of the founder, he didn't even put the child of God in his eyes. Although they had only just met, the image that Ning Tian gave her was that of an invincible and mysterious existence. Perhaps, was this equivalent to subduing her? Forget it. Anai Hongi waved her hand. Soon after, her delicate body moved and flew to the top of the misty mountain. Her red dress fluttered in the wind, outlining her perfect figure. The gazes of all the ethereal sect disciples landed on her. Senior Sister Tian Xiang, what do you think happened? In the crowd, a woman whose beauty was not inferior to Anai Hongi was surrounded by a group of disciples. I don't know. This Senior Sister Tian Xiang was one of the most talented disciples in the ethereal sect. She shook her head slightly. She was just in the midst of cultivation when she was awakened by the tremors. Before she could understand the ins and outs of the matter, she was called here by the elders. At this moment, on the top of the misty mountain, Anai Hongi looked at the disciples and signaled them to quiet down. Then, she looked at Ning Tian below and said softly, Founder, sorry to trouble you. Below, Ning Tian nodded slightly. Then, he took a step forward and stepped into the void, directly arriving beside Anai Hongi. Seeing this scene, the hearts of the ethereal sect disciples trembled. Such a young great emperor expert. Very soon, someone recognized Ning Tian. Isn't this the guy who turned into a giant golden figure? And the one who turned into thousands of figures was also him. The one who drove the spaceship that can change its size is also him. He's so handsome. It can change its size. I love it. Why are you looking at me like that? I mean, since his body can change its size, it must be very comfortable. No, it must be very strong. Yeah. Don't look at me like that. Very soon, on the cliff of the misty mountain, a group of disciples was discussing. Tian Xiang stared at Ning Tian with bright eyes and could not help but lick her red lips. As the ethereal Tao comprehension method on the cliff has been completely absorbed by the founder, we can only let the founder carve it again. On the cliff, Anai Hongi's voice slowly rang out. Hearing this, the group of disciples was stunned for a moment before their faces changed slightly. The ethereal Tao comprehension method was gone? Then, they could practice with their hammers? Sect leader, even if the founder is a great emperor expert, it is completely different from teaching others to comprehend by oneself. Of course, I'm not saying that the founder is not strong. The group of disciples was confused, but they were full of desire to live. Anai Hongi paused for a moment, not knowing what to say. At this moment, it's okay. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly, and his smile instantly captured the group of disciples. Founder, is so handsome. I think I want to. A female disciple's eyes were as gentle as water. Huh. Founder's signature. Phew. Senior sister, something is wrong with you. The group of disciples heaved a sigh of relief. Ning Tian's voice rang out again. After I teach, there is no disciple that I can't teach. Even if you are a pile of shit, I can gild you with gold. The group of Misty sect disciples instantly fell silent. Founder, we all understand the logic of what you said, but can't we change the analogy? Immediately after, under everyone's gaze, Ning Tian silently said in his heart, System, use the talent skill, enlightening and dispelling, using, enlightening and dispelling, condensing light of enlightenment. When the system's voice rang out, the light of enlightenment began to condense. Of course, Ning Tian did not condense all of his comprehension into it. He only condensed 1,000th of his own comprehension into it. After all, it was not easy for him to comprehend, so he would not be so stupid to give it all away. Giving 1,000th was enough for them to slowly comprehend. Very soon, a golden ball of light appeared in his hand. He tossed it lightly. The golden ball of light floated in the air. He said indifferently, Now, all of you sit cross-legged and begin to comprehend. The group of Misty sect disciples were puzzled, but with Enai Hongi's permission, they began to sit cross-legged. The golden light of enlightenment shone on their bodies as they began to comprehend the so-called ethereal path. Just as they were comprehending, at the side, an excited roar rang out. Enai Hongi and the others could not help but look over, only to discover that it was the demon beast that was riding at a high speed just now. Hearing the roar of the sealing flame Lion King, Ning Tian could not help but be a little surprised. Oh? Shabai, are you saying that you have taught yourself a cultivation technique and martial arts? Word-splitting art. Chapter 344. Understanding the meaning of the sealing flame Lion King's roar, Ning Tian couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. What the hell was the word disassembly formula? Self. Self-created cultivation technique martial arts? Hearing this, Enai Hongi and the group of ethereal sect elders were stunned for a moment. Then, they suddenly reacted and their expressions changed drastically. Wait a minute. A demonic beast could create its own cultivation technique martial arts? What the hell was this? Couldn't you treat them as humans once? Just once was fine too. At this moment, they deeply felt that they weren't humans and couldn't even compare to a demonic beast. It was already too much for it to ride at such a fast speed. Now, it could even create its own martial arts cultivation technique. Was there anything more excessive than this? A group of elders looked at the sealing flame Lion King angrily. Roar. The sealing flame Lion King stood up valiantly. That pair of small claws waved as it shouted excitedly. Roar. You mean that through my act of tearing down the house, I've grasped the mechanics, destruction, meridian circulation, spirit chi, and a series of other actions and created an earth-rank martial arts cultivation technique? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Tearing down the house? This ancestor is a good youth who loves his family. When did I ever tear down the house? Don't slander me, all right? Genius demonic beast? Earth-rank martial arts cultivation technique? Hearing the conversation between a man and a beast, the group of elders only felt their chests swelling. A mouthful of blood filled their chests, and their hearts were faintly aching. There were even those who were mentally weak who directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Indeed, there was really something more excessive than this. At this moment, Enai Hongi and the group of ethereal sect elders seemed to have understood something at this moment. Perhaps it wasn't that those geniuses were inferior to the ancestor, but that they couldn't even compare to a demonic beast beside the ancestor. Shabia, your word disassembly formula is far from enough. A mere earth-rank martial arts cultivation technique is really much weaker. By the side, Ning Tian said earnestly to the sealing flame Lion King, to create our own martial arts cultivation technique, we have to create the most awesome, the most heaven-defying. It's enough to be recorded in history. Do you understand? Roar, roar. Hearing this, the Lion King clenched its claws and nodded heavily, looking into the distance. I understand, Master. Master Lion wants to create the strongest word-splitting art, build a peerless sect, demolish everything in the world, tear down the dome of heaven. Master Lion's ambition is truly greater than over equal to Omega. At the sight of this, the elders of Ethereal Sect were silent for a very long time. After thinking about life for a long time, they finally came to the conclusion that they were not as good as a shabby lion. Sect Master, why don't we leave first? I think I might die if I stay here any longer. I think so too. I don't want to die from anger. Sect Master, I've already fainted from anger twice. An elder weakly crawled to his feet and looked at an Ihongi. However, before he could finish his words, his vision turned black again. Oh no! Sect Leader, Elder Fongimo fainted again. An Ihongi smiled bitterly and shook her head helplessly. Elders, please hold on for a little longer. Upon hearing that, the elders of Ethereal Sect could only beg their ancestral master to be a human and not shock them with her words. Otherwise, their fragile hearts would not be able to take it anymore. However, the good thing was this time, it was rare for Ning Tian to choose to be a human. While the Ethereal Sect disciples were comprehending, he was not idle either. He sat cross-legged and adjusted the ethereal chi in his body. As for the flame-sealing Lion King, it picked up its little notebook and began to research why its ancestral master could do that. How could he demolish a house elegantly without losing his power? This was a question that was worth it for it to research. This might be the key to its word-splitting art. At the sight of this, the elders of Ethereal Sect had strange expressions. A demon beast was actually studying cultivation techniques and martial arts diligently. They had lived for a long time. Couldn't it have a bit of conscience as a demon beast? Please, you're really not human. Don't lean towards humans. After a long time, the group of Ethereal Sect disciples seemed to have finished comprehending. Huff! Amazing! I feel like I've comprehended it. I once sat cross-legged on Ethereal Cliff for 3 years and did not comprehend a single bit of the Ethereal Tao. Now that I've just sat here for a few hours, I have an epiphany. Is this the Ancestral Master? Ancestral Master is amazing. I like it so much. Below, the voices of discussion were incessant. Exclamations, admiration, etc. were constantly circulating. At this moment, everyone finally understood how heaven-defying the young man sitting on the cliff was. How's your cultivation? An Ihongi looked at the group of disciples and asked, Sect Master, I've already begun to comprehend the ethereal Tao. Sect Master, I've already begun to comprehend the ethereal Tao. Me too. The disciples' replies were incessant. Their replies were unexpectedly consistent. All of them had already entered the gates of the ethereal Tao. As for how their cultivation went, it would depend on their own destinies. Of course, if Ning Tian gave all his comprehensions, even if he did not look at himself, even a fool would be able to master it. However, he did not do that. It was enough for these disciples of the Ethereal Sect to enter the gates. All of them have entered? So fast? It has only been a few hours. Don't tell me that everyone in the Ethereal Sect is a genius? The elders of the Ethereal Sect were shocked. Some of them could not help but feel elated. That's not the case. An Ihongi shook her head. She knew the number of disciples in the sect. Even if there were geniuses, it was definitely not all of them. All of this is caused by the mysterious golden light of the Ancestral Master. There was a glint in her beautiful eyes as her gaze landed on Ning Tian, who was sitting cross-legged not far away. Ancestral Master? Upon hearing that, the group of elders could not help but gasp. He was indeed the Ancestral Master. He could learn and teach. He was too strong. It's really amazing. An Ihongi's heart trembled slightly as she sighed to herself. Following that, she looked at the disciples below. Tian Xiang, Yueling, how's the progress of the ethereal Tao? As the eldest senior sister of the entire ethereal sect, Tianxiang was naturally very talented. Although Yueling was only an in-name disciple, her talent was not to be underestimated. Sect Master, I have already entered the ascension stage of the ethereal Tao. Tianxiang bowed slightly and said slowly with a hint of emptiness in her voice. Oh, not bad. And Hongi nodded in satisfaction. Following that, her gaze landed on Yueling and she asked, Yueling, what about you? Yueling smiled and bowed slightly. Sect Master, I'm the same as senior sister Tianxiang. You have also reached the ascension stage?
Haha.
If it's you in the Supreme Kingdom, your future is limitless. And Hongi was a little surprised and smiled slightly. Chapter 345. At the same time, Ning Tian, who was sitting cross-legged at the side, opened his eyes slightly. He stretched lazily and got up slowly. Not bad, I just closed my eyes a little, and the ethereal qi in my body automatically refined by a lot. Hearing this, the group of ethereal sect elders' mouths twitched again. It seemed that the ancestral master was gradually drifting away from the path of not being a human. How is it? Have you all succeeded in comprehending it? Ning Tian walked over and asked. Yes, the disciples of the sect have all comprehended it. And Hongi nodded, looking at Ning Tian with a strange light in her eyes, full of curiosity. What kind of man is he? So mysterious. Below the cliff of ethereal sect. Looking at Ning Tian with a smile on his face, the group of ethereal sect disciples instantly felt as though they were bathing in a spring breeze. The admiration in their eyes grew stronger. Tianxiang stared blankly at Ning Tian on the cliff. Unknowingly, her face was boiling hot. You have shocked the ethereal sect elders. You have shocked the ethereal sect disciples. Reward: spiritual energy cultivation, plus 10,000. The host's current strength is sufficient for a breakthrough. The current spiritual energy cultivation has been stored and will be replenished when the host breaks through. The system's voice sounded again. Absorbable faith energy detected. Do you want to absorb it? Hearing this, Ning Tian could not help but squint his eyes. Since the faith energy had been generated, at least one thing was clear. The ethereal sect did not have a trace of malice toward him. In fact, they even had a good impression of him. Immediately, he said in his heart without hesitation, Yes, absorbing faith energy. Absorbed energy plus 2. Absorbed energy plus 1. Absorbed energy plus 2. Absorbed energy plus 1. Current energy stored in faith power, 400, 010, 0000. I still need this much to gather? Looking at the total energy collected, Ning Tian frowned slightly. However, the higher the energy, the more powerful it was. He just did not know if the faith energy this time could kill a godly state expert. Phew! He heaved a long sigh of relief. Then, he looked at the light ball of comprehension in the air. He raised his hand slightly, and the light ball of comprehension rushed into the stone wall of the misty mountain cliff. A golden light flickered. Ancient characters fused into it, carving the comprehension method. Everything was done. He looked at Hongi and said indifferently, Now that the comprehension method has been inscribed, can Sect Master and I bring me to the heavenly sacred pool? Yes, Ancestral Master, please follow me. Hongi nodded and said something to Ning Tian. She then stepped into the void and headed for the divine sacred pond. Seeing this, Ning Tian also followed. The group of ethereal sect disciples and elders continued to comprehend and cultivate. Ah, it's over. It's over. When she saw the two of them disappear, Yu Qin was stunned for a moment before she suddenly spoke. What's over? At the side, Moon Spirit was puzzled. That is, the Ancestral Master is going to be taken away by the Sect Master. Senior Sister, how about you take off your clothes and go to the Ancestral Master's bed tonight? Ah, Senior Sister, why did you hit me? Yu Qin said excitedly. But before she could finish her words, her little head was attacked. She pouted and covered her head, looking at the blushing Moon Spirit with a wronged expression. You little girl, what nonsense are you talking about? Moon's spirit clenched her little fist and said angrily with a red face. She really didn't know what this girl was thinking. Taking off her clothes and going to the ancestral master's bed. Really, senior sister, at this time. Yuqin secretly approached her and whispered in her ear. Why are your legs trembling? You little girl. As soon as she said this, Moon's spirit's face turned red, and smoke came out of her head. See if I don't hit you, little girl. Hee hee. You can't hit me. You can't hit me. Seeing the two girls quarreling, the Lion King wiped his saliva and continued to study the invincible word-splitting technique. The woman and the lioness would only affect the speed at which it could study the word-splitting formula. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Ethereal immortal mountain, at the peak of the mountains. The clear water had condensed into a pool. Is this the sacred lake? Looking at the stagnant sacred lake in front of him, Ning Tian frowned slightly. The lake was less than 10 meters deep, and he couldn't feel the powerful energy in it. Strange. The Queen Mother's concubine told him that this was not the case. Didn't she say that it would retain its divinity? But why couldn't he feel it now? Could it be? Did the concubine lie to her? Then she couldn't protect her little butt. Hearing this, Anai Hongi was stunned for a moment. She smiled bitterly and shook her head helplessly. Ancestral Master, this is indeed the sacred lake. But, halfway through her words, Anai Hongi looked a little bitter. But what? Ning Tian's expression turned cold as he asked indifferently. At this moment, it was as if there was a trace of coldness in the air. Anai Hongi shouldn't be unaffected, but for some reason, she couldn't help but tremble when she heard the tone. Then, her faint voice sounded. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our ethereal sect saved a severely injured divine body. In order to repay us, he left behind a drop of blood essence. The blood essence transformed into the sacred lake, and it still exists today. Although the heavenly god's sacred pond has weakened over time, it shouldn't be this serious. Oh? Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned slightly. All of this happened because a son of God descended a few months ago and took away the pure energy of the heavenly god's sacred pond. As a result, the sacred lake has become what it is today. Anai Hongi shook her head helplessly and sighed. Even the ethereal sect couldn't do anything about the son of God's tyranny. Is that so? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes, and a trace of killing intent flashed across his eyes. Then these son of God are really annoying. It's really annoying. I'm sorry, Ancestral Master, Anai Hongi said apologetically from the side. No need to apologize. Ning Tian waved his hand and glanced at Anai Hongi. All right, Sect Master Anai, you can leave now. Anai Hongi was stunned. What? Could it be that Sect Master Anai wants to see me bathe? Ning Tian glanced at Anai Hongi and said indifferently. Anai Hongi was stunned and panicked. She quickly nodded and said to the void, Elder Hailu, let's go. I'll leave this to the Ancestral Master. Okay. In the void, a voice sounded out of nowhere. Then, Ning Tian clearly sensed a wisp of aura leaving the sacred lake. It should be the other emperor of the ethereal sect. Ancestral Master, we won't disturb you any longer. Anai Hongi bowed slightly and turned to leave. In front of the sacred lake, only Ning Tian was left. Chapter 346. In front of the holy pond. Looking at the stagnant water, Ning Tian furrowed his brows. The pond has become like this. Can it still be used? That son of God couldn't have done something inside, right? He furrowed his brows. To be safe, he decided to test it with his spiritual energy. Ning Tian walked over, squatted down, and touched the water of the holy pond with his hand. At the same time, a huge amount of spiritual energy swept out, causing the water to ripple. Hula, the water of the holy pond kept rippling. When the spirit chi came into contact with the pool water, Ning Tian didn't notice anything wrong. She could still vaguely feel the subtle energy within. Can this little bit of energy really be of any use? Ning Tian frowned and murmured. Most of the energy in the sacred pond had been plundered by that god's child. What remained was only a small amount of energy. Could this little bit of energy really have any effect on the divine demon totem on his body? Ning Tian looked at the holy pond and fell into silence. After a while, he thought of something. Since the holy pond was formed by the essence blood of the god's body, then he also had the god's body. Could he use his essence blood as a blood guide to extract some of the energy in the holy pond? Maybe. It's possible? Ning Tian murmured, and a light flashed in his eyes. This was the only method he could use now. Since he had an idea, he would try it. Immediately, Ning Tian's spiritual energy turned into a sharp blade, and he gently cut his finger. As the spiritual energy surged, a drop of blood containing powerful essence condensed. Drip. The drop of blood slid down from his finger and fell into the holy pond. Soon, it melted into the pond. Ning Tian's gaze was also fixed on the surface of the water, anticipating that her thoughts would be confirmed. Soon, the blood melted into the pond, and the pond was still as silent as death. The wind was still, and the water was still. Could it be that it didn't work? My calculation. Was it wrong? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes, looking at the calm water, and couldn't help but feel disappointed. Tick-tock, tick-tock. At this moment, ripples began to appear on the surface of the water. Strange energy began to emerge from the water. Ning Tian was very familiar with this aura. This was the power of God. My calculations were correct. It is indeed effective. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian's eyes lit up. The blood essence was effective, but his heavenly deity physique had yet to reach grand completion. If he wanted to awaken the heavenly deity water in the heavenly deity Saint Pond, he would need a huge amount of blood essence. Damn it, that shitty son of God made me bleed so much. I'll settle this score sooner or later. Ning Tian took a deep breath, and the air seemed to turn cold, although the son of God did not provoke him. However, God's child took away the energy of the heavenly sacred pond, so he had no choice but to use his own blood to fill the gap. This made him very unhappy. If the ancestral master was not happy, he would tear them down and kill them. Phew! Letting out a long breath, Ning Tian began to bleed. When the heavenly deity physique's blood essence condensed and fell into the heavenly deity Saint Pond, the heavenly deity water began to flow. After an unknown period of time, the entire heavenly deity Saint Pond was covered in blood. It was like a pool of blood. Ning Tian let out a long breath. His body faintly felt weak. He muttered, "Weak, weak? Seems like I'll have to find that girl Yuqin to deal with the horsewhip later." Then, he took off his shirt, revealing his refined muscles. The black fiend god totem was engraved on his chest. It's getting worse. Ning Tian looked at his chest, muttered, and walked into the pool. The heavenly deity Saint Pond was not deep. It was only knee-deep. He sat down cross-legged, and the heavenly deity water just happened to reach his chest. When the heavenly deity water reached his chest, the fiend god totem on his chest was also infected by the heavenly deity water. Vaguely, there seemed to be a warm and cool feeling. Waves of comfortable energy entered his body. Not bad. Feeling the energy from the fiend god totem being infected by the heavenly deity water, the corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly. His eyes shone. While absorbing the energy without hesitation, he also used the heavenly deity physique tempering card. Using the heavenly deity physique tempering card. Use successful. When the system's voice fell, a huge suction force instantly erupted in his body. Endless energy condensed from afar. Perhaps, this time, he could directly break through to the god the Archrealm in one go. As time went by, the blood in the heavenly deity Saint Pond gradually decreased, and the pool water gradually became clear. Most of the energy ran into Ning Tian's body. The black fiend god totem on his chest had faded a lot. It also turned into energy and entered his body. Ning Tian could already feel that the energy in his body was getting denser and denser. This feeling was like accumulating energy, waiting to be unleashed. When it surged out, he might break through in one go. Half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. 3 hours. Time kept changing. In the heavenly deity Saint Pond, Ning Tian sat cross-legged. Traces of cold sweat dripped from his forehead. However, at his chest, the black fiend god totem had quietly dissipated. At the same time, the system's voice rang in Ning Tian's mind again. Detected that the host can break through. Do you want to start breaking through? Ning Tian still did not open his eyes. He only nodded silently. Start. I, Ning Tian, will eventually become an arch too. Absorbing energy, releasing the previously stored spiritual energy, beginning breakthrough. The system's voice rang continuously. All of a sudden, the water in the heavenly deity Saint Pond began to boil. Then, golden light shone. At the peak of the mountains, a blazing golden light appeared and illuminated the entire ethereal sect. A huge aura was also emitted at this moment. Right then, ethereal cliff. A group of ethereal sect disciples were still comprehending the comprehension method left behind by Ning Tian. Although to Ning Tian, what he left behind was merely a tiny bit of what he had comprehended, to all the disciples of the ethereal sect, it was 100 million tiny bits. It was extremely helpful to them, just when all the disciples were lamenting the strength of their patriarch. Boom! Thousands of golden light rays shone. In an instant, ethereal immortal mountain. The commotion at the peak of the mountains attracted the attention of countless ethereal sect disciples. Everyone stopped cultivating and looked over. Could it be that this was caused by the patriarch again? It can't be. It's happening again. Oh my God. What is this mysterious patriarch doing? Should we run away first? What if we are accidentally injured? A group of ethereal sect elders had a strange expression. While they were shocked, they were also worried. This patriarch, couldn't he stop for a while? The commotion just now had not stopped and he started again. Sect Master, this? At a corner of the cliff, an old woman looked at Anihongi and asked with a frown. She was the arch of ethereal sect, Elder Hailu. Let's wait and see. Anihongi shook her head and looked at the peak of the mountains. Chapter 347. At the peak of the mountain range, inside the heavenly god's sacred pond, an extremely powerful aura slowly emerged. It was like a broken bamboo that could not be stopped. The surrounding spiritual energy began to condense at this moment. It was continuously absorbed by the figure sitting cross-legged in the heavenly god's sacred pond. Boom, boom, boom. It was as if even the air was being squeezed dry by him. Soon, the spiritual energy at the peak of the mountain range was completely absorbed by Ning Tian. He, who was about to break through to the God-Emperor realm, was like a bottomless pit that required an extremely large amount of spiritual energy to fill. There was not a single drop of spiritual energy left at the peak of the mountain range. Not enough. Far from enough. A murmur. It came from Ning Tian's mouth. 100-fold absorption. Activate. Target the spiritual energy of the entire ethereal immortal mountain. A glint flashed across his eyes. He had set his sights on all the spiritual energy in the ethereal immortal mountain. Absorb it first. At most, he would return it to them later. 100-fold absorption has been activated. Absorbing. Heavenly God technique has been activated. Sanshing technique has been activated. Entering whale-devouring mode. When the system's voice slowly faded, a powerful suction force suddenly erupted from Ning Tian's body. Boom, boom. When the suction force erupted, everyone in the ethereal sect felt the surrounding spiritual energy being mercilessly sucked away and swept toward the peak of the mountain range continuously. At this moment, they were completely dumbfounded. The ancestral master was not even letting go of the spiritual energy. If there was no more spiritual energy here, wouldn't they have to wait for a long time before it could condense again? Could it be that the ethereal sect was going to move to another place? Sect leader, Elder Hailu's expression had already turned completely ugly. She looked at Anihongi and said in a deep voice, Sect Master, even if the founder has helped all of our ethereal sect's disciples to step onto the ethereal Tao, We can't let him act so recklessly, right? Hearing this, and Hangi frowned slightly and hesitated. She understood the logic. If it was anyone else, she wouldn't have allowed him to act so recklessly. However, Patriarch's words. This did not mean that she had completely fallen in love with the founder. It was just that the founder was too mysterious. She was very curious and wanted to see what this man was doing. She wanted to see what kind of surprise he could bring to the ethereal sect. Let's wait a little longer. I believe that Ancestral Master is not someone who would act recklessly and disregard the big picture. She shook her head slightly, her tone firm. Elder Hailu opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. He could only sigh helplessly. She didn't understand. That patriarch was just too handsome, too awesome. It wasn't to the extent that he could steal away all of her sect master's thoughts, right? Right at this moment, a rumbling sound came from the summit of the mountains. Above the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Faintly, there was a lightning tribulation surging. Lightning tribulation? Patriarch, what are you doing? Breakthrough? How is that possible? If he breaks through again, wouldn't he be in the deity realm?
How strange.
Seeing this, the group of ethereal sect elders raised their heads one after another, their eyes filled with shock and confusion. However, at this moment, another rumbling sound that was even more intense was heard. A purple lightning dragon that was thousands of meters long suddenly charged out from the summit of the mountains. It rushed into the clouds and actually devoured all of the lightning tribulation in the clouds. Then, it turned into the energy of the lightning tribulation and disappeared before everyone's eyes. Seeing this, everyone was dumbfounded and dumbfounded. What was that thing that just came out? It actually devoured the lightning tribulation in one gulp? That was a lightning tribulation. Was this a joke? At the side, Moon Spirit looked at the sky excitedly. Only she knew that it was the void divine lightning that the Patriarch had subdued in the void. I didn't expect the void divine lightning in the Patriarch's hands to be even stronger than the lightning tribulation. Moon Spirit's face was flushed with excitement. The stronger the Patriarch was, the happier she was. Suddenly, her face turned even redder as she recalled what that damned girl, Yuqin, said. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, as the lightning tribulation was devoured, the entire summit of the mountains began to tremble. Rocks rolled down, and in the blink of an eye, it looked like it was going to collapse. The summit of the mountains was going to collapse? Seeing this scene, before anyone could react, their thoughts were confirmed. The 10,000-meter tall mountain collapsed in the blink of an eye. Rocks rolled down in all directions continuously.
It's over, it's over.
Sect Master, it seems like our ethereal sect can really change places. Seeing this, the group of ethereal sect elders wanted to cry but had no tears. Their ethereal sect had also experienced large-scale battles. Ethereal Immortal Mountain was still standing here, and the summit of the mountains was still as stable as Mount Tai. However, now, the destruction caused by the Patriarch's cultivation was not as great as the destruction caused by the Patriarch. Roar, roar. Seeing this scene, the Sealing Flame Lion King was different from the surrounding elders who wanted to cry but had no tears. It roared excitedly. It felt as if the bloodline in its body was suddenly ignited at this moment. Then, it quickly studied its word-splitting technique. Sect Master, there's nothing left now. There's no spirit energy in the surroundings, and the summit of the mountains has already collapsed. I think you'd better find a place to rest and find a new home for the ethereal sect. Elder Hailu sneered in anger, and Hangi frowned and fell silent. At this moment, a figure appeared in the void around them. At this moment, Ning Tian was shirtless and walked out of the void with a calm look on his face. It was as if the destruction around him had nothing to do with him. And Hangi looked over. Although she could not sense the change in the Patriarch's aura, she could vaguely sense that Ning Tian's appearance seemed to have become more handsome than before. Also, that body, that 8-pack abs, it's too perfect. Ning Tian put on his clothes unhurriedly. Of course, there was a change in his appearance. After all, After breaking through to the God-Emperor realm, many of the impurities in his body had been removed. Now, his strength was also at the level of a one-star God-Emperor. Although there was still a gap between him and his two wives, in a sense, he was not weak in a fight. "Thank you, Sect Master and I." Ning Tian looked at Hongi and said softly. After breaking through to the God-Emperor realm and the divine demon totem on his chest had completely disappeared, Ning Tian was still very satisfied. Hearing this, Hongi forced a smile. "Humph." At the side, Elder Hailu snorted in dissatisfaction. She glanced at Ning Tian and said indifferently, "Humph, you're comfortable, but what about us?" Also, the ethereal sect doesn't welcome. However, before she could finish her sentence, she heard Ning Tian speaking to Hongi. "Sect Master and I just borrowed your sect's spirit energy, and now I'm returning it. The spirit energy that passed through my hands might have unexpected." "Oh? Elder Hailu, what did you just say?" Chapter 348. Elder Hailu, you just said that we don't welcome demolitions? Before Ning Tian could finish his sentence, he looked at Elder Hailu. Elder Hailu stood rooted to the ground, his face flushed red. He felt awkward and did not know what to say. Suddenly, she rolled her eyes and quickly said, "Ahaha, Ancestral Master, what I meant was that our ethereal sect doesn't welcome, people who don't demolish houses. Our ethereal sect likes to demolish houses, right?" After saying that, she hurriedly winked at the group of elders at the side. Yes, Elder Hailu means that our ethereal sect likes to demolish houses. Our ethereal sect's motto is that wherever we go, there will be people who demolish houses. Yes, yes, yes. Elder Fengimo is absolutely right. After being stunned for a moment, the group of elders quickly reacted and smiled awkwardly. "Oh." Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and looked at Elder Hailu. "Is that so, Elder Hailu?" "Ahaha." Elder Hailu scratched his head awkwardly. Damn it. Before he could finish his sentence, he heard that the Ancestral Master wanted to return the spirit chi to them. This was awkward. She could only squeeze out a smile and said, "Yes, that's right. I like to demolish." After saying that, she made up her mind. She casually threw her palm at a place. Bang! In an instant, the house collapsed. Elder Hailu cried out happily when he saw this scene. "My house is being demolished. Damn it. I'm so happy. Ancestral Master, do you believe me now?" Elder Hailu almost gritted his teeth as he said this. "Yes." Ning Tian nodded slightly and said with a smile, "Actually, Elder Hailu, I will believe you even if you don't prove it." Puffed. Elder Hailu vomited blood when he heard that. The Ancestral Master was so despicable. Puffed. When Hongi saw this, she could not help but smile. Her smile was like 100 flowers blooming, and it was extremely beautiful. She looked at Ning Tian and said, "All right, Ancestral Master, release your spirit chi. Otherwise, our ethereal sect will really have to move." Ning Tian smiled. Then, a huge spirit chi ocean appeared behind him. Boom. What a huge spirit chi ocean. The group of elders widened their eyes. Then, Ning Tian waved her hand casually, and the huge sea of spiritual energy behind her instantly spread out and exploded. Very soon, the huge spirit chi ocean of spirit chi spread across the entire ethereal immortal mountain. The ethereal sect's members heaved a sigh of relief. In that case, at the very least, their ethereal sect only needed to slightly rebuild their sect, and they wouldn't need to move. What? The spirit chi-s. At this moment, the disciples, the Ancestral Mastered, the Ancestral Master. Ancestor is truly a great person. Tears streamed down Elder Feng Mo's face as he was extremely touched. The surrounding group of elders also felt the same way. Elder Hailu was even more ashamed. It was one thing for the Ancestral Master to contribute his own spirit chi ocean, but he even purposely refined the spirit chi to make it even purer. He's really a good person. However, What the group of Misty sect elders didn't know was that this was merely the smallest of the several spirit chi seas in Ning Tian's body. Thank you, Ancestral Master. And Ai Hongyi's beautiful eyes shone as she thanked Ning Tian solemnly. The ethereal sect was now in a state where they had been sold and still had to count the money for Ning Tian. Also, this is a drop of the celestial god's sacred pond's essence. If you drip it into ordinary pond water, it should last for another 100 years. With that, Ning Tian handed a small jade bottle to an Ai Hongyi. Inside the jade bottle was a drop of red blood. What? The celestial god's sacred pond's essence blood. Hearing this, the surrounding elders widened their eyes. They originally thought that the celestial god's sacred pond would be lost after the mountain peak exploded. They did not expect the ancestral master to preserve a drop of essence that could last for another 100 years for them. The ancestral master is a good person. F***CK. Don't stop me. I'm going to marry my precious granddaughter to the ancestral master. I'm going to give the ancestral master the special battle technique that I've collected for 1,000 years, and the one that I, Old Yao, have painstakingly developed. In an instant, the ethereal sect's elders were moved to tears. They thought that the ancestral master was deliberately tearing down their home. In fact, they were on the 1st level while the ancestral master was on the 5th level, helping the ethereal sect grow stronger. Ancestral master. And Ai Hongyi looked at Ning Tian. She was so moved that she could not speak. Ning Tian only smiled and touched the storage ring on his finger. There was a large jade bottle inside. It was filled with the essence blood of the celestial god's sacred pond. What a joke. This was all refined from his own blood. It was already very benevolent of him to give a drop to the ethereal sect. That's right. At this moment, Ning Tian seemed to have thought of something. He looked at an Ai Hongyi and asked, Sect leader and I, who was the son of God that took the sacred pond's essence? Which sect does he belong to? Ancestral master, are you going to snatch it? Hearing this, an Ai Hongyi's expression changed slightly. She quickly shook her head and said, Ancestral master, you can't do that. The son of God sect is a hidden sect. It's very powerful. Even if you're a 9 tribulations great emperor, you might not be able to gain anything from it. Her tone was filled with worry. Don't worry. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile that made people feel comfortable. He said softly, I'm very kind, so I won't do anything to them. And Ai Hongyi was silent for a moment. She almost believed him. She shook her head slightly and said helplessly, that son of God is the 10,000 swords godchild. Behind him is the 10,000 swords immortal sect, a hidden sect. 10,000 swords godchild? 10,000 swords immortal sect? Hearing this, a murderous intent flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. He nodded slightly and said, Okay, I understand. As soon as he finished speaking, it was as if the surrounding air had turned cold. Many elders trembled. They felt a chill, as if they had fallen into an endless layer of ice. No way. Is the ancestral master going to attack the 10,000 swords immortal sect? No way, that's a huge force. Gulp. The group of elders swallowed their saliva and shook their heads silently. They must be overthinking. No matter how powerful the ancestral master is, he can't be that powerful. What if? Forget it. There's no what if. Ning Tian had his own plans. Although the celestial demon totem on his chest had disappeared after the sacred pond's energy absorption, and he had successfully broken through to the 1-star divine emperor realm, his celestial god physique was still lacking a bit of energy to reach the greater success stage of the celestial god physique. The only thing missing was the energy of the sacred pond that the 10,000 swords godchild had taken away. He had to get that energy back. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.